Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? Today we're going to be checking out all of the spoilers from Streets of New Capenna, and a lot of y'all have been hitting me up asking for my opinions on certain cards. Hey, this is Obscura slash Esper slash whatever names they're calling these things look good in my deck. Is Bant Spirits going to be using the Triome that's coming out? Well, now we actually get to answer all of these things because, well, we're looking at the spoiler finally, and until today, my answer's been, look man, I don't know yet, like I haven't looked at the spoilers, but now that's no longer going to be true. So I don't know, buckle up, because this is going to be a long one. Also, if you want to contact me directly, make sure to either visit the Discord server, where there's quite a bit of discussion in Modern and Pioneer Magic, or just visit my contact page at linktree/SpiritSquadMTG, and both of the links will be right in the description for you. But, as I said before, buckle up, settle in for a long one. If you're listening to me on headphones, I will try not to do too much screaming, and other than that, let's check these spoilers out. So now we get to check out the first section of spoilers. MTG Salvation, shout out to y'all, has them all sorted by color, and the first thing we'll notice is that there is no colorless section. Like, there's an artifact section that probably has cards in it. It definitely has cards, lots of cards in it actually, but none of the cards are straight colorless and not artifacts. So we'll get to the artifact section later because we're doing this in order. So we're just gonna skip right to the white section. So what do we got first? Angelic Overseer, 6 mana, 3/3, 1 less for every citizen I have in flying. Meh, pass on that guy. What do you got? Backup Agent. 2 mana, 1/1, get a counter on a target creature. That's been done a million times. Just insert common here. Ballroom Brawlers, 5 mana, 3/5. When you attack this thing and up to one other target creature you control, get first strike or lifelink until end of turn. Seems pretty good and limited, useless everywhere else. What do we got? Boon of Safety. 1 mana instant, put a shield counter on a creature and scry. Shield counter. If it will be dealt damage or destroyed, remove a shield counter from this thing instead. Oh, this seems kind of lit for Pioneer, because in Pioneer, people are already playing like miscellaneous decks like Red, White, Heroic, and cards like this usually tell people to play the Feather deck too, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a small resurgence of maybe Feather with this thing, because that seems ultra lit, and shield counters do stack. So if you have a shield counter on something and the shield counter isn't used, and you put another shield counter on a thing, it's just gonna have 2 shield counters. So it's not like a legendary type of thing per creature or anything like that. You can have 6 shield counters on one creature. So I think this card's actually kind of lit. Broker's Initiate. What are you? 2 mana, 0/4 for 5. This thing can be 5/5. Meh. Next. Buy Your Silence, very gangster themed. A 5 mana thing, sorcery. Exile target non-land permanent and its controller gets a treasure token. Meh. Very medium removal, even for limit. 4 mana, 3/2. When another creature enters the battlefield, you get a counter on this thing. Oh, that seems kind of cool. Again, a limited favorite, but still pretty sweet overall. 2 mana equipment, equip cost 2. When this Citizen's Crowbar enters the battlefield, you get a green-white token, make this thing onto it, +1s, white, tap, disenchant. Oh, I'm sorry, tap and sacrifice to it. I'm sure Hammer will probably play one of these in the sideboard because just like getting a disenchant effect seems pretty good, but outside of that, I don't really think I like the card so much. 4 mana, 2/2, shield counter, and it's a 4/2 on your turn. A reasonable attacker, again, limited favorites. Oh, it's the Wrath of God. Every player who controls a multicolored creature draws a card, then you destroy all creatures. Another Wrath for standard that probably doesn't need. Elspeth Resplendent. Isn't she dead? Like, is Elspeth alive this week? What? Anybody who's actually in touch with the story, please tell me whatever's going on, because everything I hear is like Elspeth died, Elspeth's back, Elspeth went to the mall. What is Elspeth even? Anyway, I'm gonna read from here, not the card, because it's easy. 5 mana, 5 loyalty. Choose a counter. I'm sorry, choose a creature. You get a +1 counter and flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance. Okay. And these are counters too, so it sticks on. Nice. Top 7 card, you get a permanent with mana value 3 or less onto the table with a shield counter. Put everything on the bottom. That takes her from 5 to 2. -7 is you get 5 3/3 angels with flying. That's a pretty underwhelming. Yeah, this card seems okay. Like the -3 is probably the most exciting part of this card, because like in decks that want to play her, she can get things that are like hate pieces like Brutal Cathar and Skyclave Apparition. The counter is actually pretty decent for things like lifelinking. The ultimate's really bad. Just like 5 3/3s is not, whatever. Overall, very mid as far as Planeswalkers go, but I think Planeswalkers probably should be mid because the ones that are good right now are just way too good. So I'm actually okay with the fact that she's very, Whoa, internet. Hi, what's happening here? There we go. Extraction Specialist. 3 mana, 3/2 lifelink, already not terrible. Enters the battlefield, you get a target creature with mana value 2 or less. Oh, you reanimate. Okay, so you enter the battlefield, you reanimate something mana value 2 or less from your graveyard, and it can attack or block as long as you have this thing on the table. Okay. So cards that you want on the table that have text, but not text you specifically care about as far as attacking or blocking seems good for this. So if I were to play this, I would probably play it alongside some Giver of Runes that already doesn't attack or block. Something like Selfless Spirit that has a really good effect without having to attack or block, even if you actually attack with Selfless Spirit. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't think I like it enough to play it in Spirits, but like the card seems pretty good. I'm sure it's got its uses. Too bad it only has to be creature cards, because you can't just like Renegade Rallier to get a fetch land back or anything. Whatever, card still seems at least useful. Gathering Throng, what are you? Oh, you're a Squadron Hawk. Yeah, it enters the battlefield, you get to search your deck for any number of this thing, put them into your hand. It's just a 3/1 Squadron Hawk for 3. Giada, Fount of Hope, what do you do? Oh, I've heard about this. It's the Angel Tribal thing. Yeah. 2 mana, 2/2, Flying and Vigilance. Every other angel you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1 for each angel you already control. Whoa. And then you pay white to cast an angel spell. That card's sweet. Halo Fountain. Remember, kids, it's not a drug. 3 mana artifact. Tap white, tap this. Untap a tapped creature you control, you get a token. Okay, they're bringing untap back. 2 mana, tap this. Untap 2 tapped friends you have to draw a card. Okay. That's actually kind of cool in a world where we might want to play Shacklegeist, right? Where you get to tap this thing, tap 2 mana, tap a creature with Shacklegeist, tapping 2 of your friends, untap your 2 creatures that you tapped with Shacklegeist, draw a card, and then use Shacklegeist with the same 2 creatures again. So like that's kind of a cool synergy point, I guess, but not cool enough to make me want to play Hallowed Fountain. Or oops, Halo Fountain. I definitely want to play Hallowed Fountains. 5 white, untap 15 tapped creatures you control, you win the game. Okay, so that's ultra adorable. Yeah, moving on to the next card. Hold for Ransom. 2 mana enchant, pacifism, and 7 mana, this thing. Oh, wait. No. They don't get to activate it. The controller does. So if I cast Hold for Ransom on your creature, I can pay 7 and sacrifice it and draw a card. You can't. So, okay, that's actually kind of cool. This is really good because like you just pay 2 mana. Yeah, this is just like literally pacifism plus. Yeah, because the creature can't attack or block. The person who cast Hold for Ransom is the only one who gets to pay the 7. Yeah, this card seems sick. Illuminator Virtuoso. Double strike. When this thing becomes a target of a spell you control, it cannot... What? Yo, this card seems actually absurd. Frick, this card is good. So like Connive as a mechanic, I'm already a fan of. So for anybody who hasn't checked out Connive yet, it's simply you draw a card, then you drop a card. And if you dropped a non-land card, then you get a +1 counter on the creature. And this works really well with that thing that we just saw that says scry 1, get a shield counter, especially with double striking for 2. This card seems honestly kind of really absurd. Like if you can just protect it with like God's Willing, shield counter plus scry, all of those types of effects, this thing's got basically heroic, except you get to loot along the way too. This card is Inspiring Overseer. Oh, I've seen this. It's a 3 mana 2/1. You get a life and you draw a card, and it's a 2/1 flyer, and it's an angel, not a spirit. So I get yeah, this card's really and this close to considering fine, because like the velocity you get off of this thing, I mean it's not a spirit, so you don't get any of the tribal center to play in the spirit deck, but this card's still oh, that's a reprint. We've seen this. Yeah, just destroy target attacking creature for 3. That's been a card we've seen a couple of times. Knockout Blow. 2 and a white, instant speed. It's only a white if it targets a red creature. 4 damage to attacking or blocking, and you gain 2 life for a 1 against a red deck? Shit, this card's good. I might play this in Pioneer. This card's like, if you pay 3 to destroy an attacking creature with 4 toughness, you're not that sad about that. And if it's red, you only have to pay a white. Yeah, I'm here for this. This card seems... I might just start off by playing 2 to 3 of these in Pioneer blue-white spirits, but it's also just like really good in any environment where you expect to fight a lot of red decks, right? Like in Modern, it basically reads, pay 1 mana, kill target Rags or Darcy. Shit, honestly, that might be to see Modern play. if I'm keeping it a buck, like this card's just 1 white for being able to kill some of the best threats in Modern and a lot of the threats in one of your worst matchups in Pioneer. I like this card a lot. And I expect to put this in a sleeve soon. This card's really good. I'm probably just gonna snap order 4 and call it a day. What's next? Mage's Attendant. 3 mana, 3/2, Cat Rogue. Okay, that's adorable. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1 blue wizard with sacrifice, you counter target non-creature spell unless its opponent pays 1. So you get to force spike, but not for creatures. But it's 2 bodies on a 3/2, like whatever. This is probably standard playable if I'm being honest. Like the card's not that bad. I don't really know what else is in standard. Sure, that effect is probably decent. Mysterious Limousine. A 5 mana 4/4 vehicle, cruise 2. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you exile up to 1 other target creature until Limousine leaves the battle. If a creature is put into exile this way, you return each other card exiled with this. Oh, duh. So only 1 person in the car at a time. Got it. Okay. So yeah, when you have your Limousine, only 1 creature can occupy the Limousine. So that's actually pretty flavorful. I like that. If you exile a creature when it comes in, it rides the Limousine. When you attack with it and then get to reuse the effect, then you kick that creature out of the limo and you put the new creature in the limo. Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this card's pretty flavorful, and honestly, the art's pretty good on this thing. Good job, Dan Scott. What's next? Patch Up. 3 mana sorcery. Return up to 3 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less. Oh, we've seen this before on, what's the black card called? Call of the Death Dweller, I believe it's called? Scryfall. Yeah, there it is. Except this only does 2 creatures, except they get counters. This does up to 3 creatures, which is enough for, I don't know what combo exists with 3 creatures and 3 mana, but I'm sure there's a combo that exists somewhere. So yeah, I'm pretty happy to see more cards like this because that gives us room for deck building. While it's not a card that I see myself playing, it still looks kind of rabble-rousing. 5 mana, hideaway 5, and when you attack with 1 or more creatures, you get that many creature tokens. Then if you can control 10 or more creatures, you can pay the card without pay. But it costs 5, that's so many. If it costs 4, I think this card's like actually somewhat slightly playable in something somewhere. But 5, man, I'm just Rafine's Guidance. What do you do? White 1+1s, and you can pay. Oh, you just escape for 3. This card seems okay. Yeah, this card just seems okay. It's like whatever. It's a reusable aura, which is already something that the black, white, or blue-white auras decks in Pioneer might explore, like a 1 or maybe even a 2 of, but realistically probably just a 1. I don't think it'll see play, but it's not completely unplayable, so I don't know, we'll see. Rafine's Informant, what do you do? A 2 mana 2/1 that connives. Yep, card's great. That's it. Card's great. Almost positive this will find a way to see play somewhere in Stand. I don't think the connive mechanic is good enough to let cards like this see play outside of a standard environment. A 2 mana 3/2 potentially that loots? There's no way that's not standard playable. Like, this card's good. Refuse to Yield. What do you? +2, +7, untap the thing? I mean, +7's a lot of toughness, so that'll probably still never see play outside of limited, but +2s, if it has a counter, it also gets flying and life. Why not? Okay. Revelation of Power. Oh, that's the same thing. We literally just saw that. Sorry. Rumor Gatherer. What do you do? Rumor has it. 3 mana 2/1 Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you scry 1. And if it is the second time this ability is resolved this turn, you draw a card instead. Oh, okay, sure. So the first creature, you scry 1. The second creature, you draw a card. Every other creature that is not the first or the second, you still scry. Not terrible, not great. Sanctuary Warden is a 6-drop. Okay. Flying. Enters a battlefield with 2 shield counters on it. Okay, so remember what we were talking about, that rules interaction. Like, a creature can just have like 6 shield. When this thing enters a battlefield or attacks, you can remove a counter from a creature or a planeswalker. If you do, you get a card and you get a 1. I like the 2 shield counters and the flying on a 6/6. I don't know that I care about the effect because this card is not constructed player. But if you're playing limited, you almost need to have a planeswalker to make this card be able to draw. But if you're playing this in limited, you already have a freaking 6 mana 5/5 bad. So yeah, whatever. All right, I'm sure I will. Bird Citizen, 2 mana flying lifelink, 4 mana you and your opponent draw a card. S. Next, Speak Easy Server, 5 mana 3/3 flyer. You get a life for every other creature you control. Also, sweet art with this thing. I love this pick. Yeah, this guy's got like, yeah, I like this a lot. Oh, this looks a lot. Swooping Protector. Let's keep the screen nice and big. 4 mana 2/1 flash flyer, get a shield counter, and that's literally the same card that we just clicked. So let's move off of that, and that's the end of our white section. Looks like. Okay, I guess we have seen all the white cards. Let's move on to our next. So now we're gonna look at all the blue cards from this set, and we've got All Seeing Arbiter, 6 mana flyer, 5/4. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, draw 2, then drop 1. Already seems at least decent. Whenever you discard a card, target creature they control gets -X/-0, where X is the number of different mana values among cards. Meh. The -X/-0 is easily the least exciting part of this card. The drawing cards. I don't know about Mythic, but still seems good. 2 mana 3/3 defender, 2 more counters amongst creatures you control. Backstreet Bruiser can attack as though it didn't have defender. So this is a kind of card that we've seen before too. What is one called like Returned Phalanx, I believe. And I don't know, it's kind of cool to see effects like this just see play in, because you get to play slower decks, just have somebody hold down the ground until you like your turn 5 and 6 bigger plays and stuff. And if you see any of these really bomb flyer, then a card like this will actually play a pretty big role letting you get to those turns without being aggroed out by like, yeah, this is a kind of card we've seen and I'm glad this is reprinted. So yeah, Backstreet's back. 2 mana 2/1, when it dies you get a shield counter on somebody. Cool, okay. Case the joint. Alright, instant speed, draw 2 cards, then look at the top card of each player's library. I would still never play that over like Hieroglyphication, but it's cute. And cut your losses. 6 mana casualty 2, target player mills half their library round. And casualty means you can sacrifice a creature with that power or bigger to cast your same spell twice. So you can, yeah, it's actually this is pretty powerful. So it's basically just like Traumatize Plus, except it costs 6 instead of. And if you sacrifice a creature, then it just really sucks. Disdainful Stroke, a card we've seen a million times. Glad to see it back. Echo Inspect. When it enters the battlefield, it connives a 4 mana 2/3 flying, so potentially a 4 mana 4 flying that loots. Holy shit, that's good. That's like almost a snap first pick. A 3 mana 3/4 flyer is already good enough. And then you get to loot along the way. That card's nuts. Errant Street Artist, okay. Legendary Flash Defender Haste, cute. Pay 2, tap this, copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You can choose new targets for the copy. So if you simply put a copy of a spell on a stack, then you can use this thing to copy that copy of a thing? I cannot get behind. Even the score, instant speed, it costs just X. If your opponent has drawn 4 or more cards this turn to draw X. So what draws 3 cards other than Brainstorm? Days Undoing doesn't count because it ends the turn. Brainstorm, this is, I think it's actually just Brainstorm. I mean, yeah, sure, technically Ancestral cannot see this card seeing play there. Yeah, it just seems like if your opponent casts Brainstorm, then you can pay X and draw X, and other than that, you just have like a card in your hand. I don't know, I don't think this. Because what if you're also just like playing against Landstorm deck, then you just like have this card in a matchup where you may or may not even want it versus, because like just play a bunch of lands and can kill you anyway. I don't know, this card seems kind of like, I'm sure this is going to be it's more reasonable for you to get amounts of. Yeah, I think I'm just not here for this card. Let's move along. Even the score. What's next? Expendable Lackey. 1 mana 1/1 human citizen. Pay 2, exile this thing from your yard. You get a 1/1 fish that can't be blocked, so that's pretty good. And you can only activate it as a sword, which is less good, but still kind. We've seen this. Yeah. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you get a +1 counter on this thing. I don't remember which set it was, but whatever the Surveil set was, we saw this card in the set, so we'll be able to keep it. Hypnotic Grifter. 1 mana 1/2, 3 mana, this thing connives. This is the kind of card. Oh, it's an uncommon. Okay. I was gonna say this is definitely like one of those very, very high picks, but it's not a common, it's an uncommon. Ledger Shredder. 2 mana 1/3 flying. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, this thing connives. A little chat. Oh, I like that. Casualty 1, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You put one in your hand and the other on the bottom. So you can sacrifice a token and do this twice. Yeah, that seems okay. Majestic Metamorphosis. Until end of turn, artifact or creature is a 4/4 angel and gets flying. You draw a card for 3. We've seen a million of these effects but they always cost 2 and they don't draw a card. I still don't. Make it disappear. Counter a spell unless its controller pays 2 and sacrifice 1 to copy it again. So if you sacrifice like a token or something, then they can't beat you out with just 1 counterspell. They have to have 2. I guess that's cool. Obscura Initiate. 3 mana, 2/2 flying, 1 in a white or black to give it a single lifelink. Sure, seems okay. Offer you can't refuse. Oh, that's cute. The alphabet part of the website, it discards basic words like a, an, and probably the. So offer you can't refuse is just chilling O instead of that's gonna take some. Oh yeah. I've seen this all over Twitter. Okay, this one's kind of popular. You counter a non-creature spell, its controller gets 2 treasure. So in a format like EDH where your opponent's just trying to resolve like one big dumb spell like a time stretch, then this is a sweet one spell for that. But giving your opponent 2 treasure tokens in constructed format, yikes. Yeah, just yikes. I can totally see this thing. Seeing Commander play, like this card doesn't just suck, but I think the 2 mana is way too much, I guess, tournament formats. 4 mana instant, bounce a non-land an opponent controls to its owner's hand and draw a card, but it's only 2 instead of 4 if you target something green. I might play it. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see how good the mono green deck is in Pioneer. If that deck continues to be really good, then a card like Out of the Way might just be super. Yeah, I don't know, time will tell. Like, I really like the white hate card that's anti-red for 1 mana. This card for 2 mana, I am still 50-50 on right now. I don't know, maybe come to a decision later. Let's see. Psionic Snoop, 3 mana, 0/3. Flash connives when it enters the battlefield. That's fine, it's a card. It exists. Psychic Pickpocket. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. When it connives, you bounce something. Oh shit, this card's cool. This is exactly the kind of card that I really like. It almost never actually leads to your deck being good, but this is exactly the kind of card that I'll be and realistically, I'll probably do it more times than is healthy. Whatever, I like what I like. So what's this thing? Enchant creature for 3 mana. All creatures attack enchanted creature's controller each combat, and when that thing dies, you draw a card. Oh, sure. So this is like one of those anti-politic cards in EDH where you're playing with like want everybody to kill 1 person, then you just make public enemy. Reservoir Kraken, what do you? 4 mana, 6/6, trample, ward 2? All right, what's the drawback? At the beginning of each combat, if this thing is untapped, an opponent can tap an untapped creature they control. If they do, you tap this thing and you get a 1/1 fish that says can't be blocked. I mean, I think I like this card. It actually seems kind of good. Like if your opponent has creatures, then they're just giving you fish by tapping your Kraken. And if they're playing a deck without creatures, like say, I don't know, blue-white control or some such, or simply just don't have creatures on the table, then you get a 4 mana 6/6 that has ward. This card seems, I don't know what this would see play in, but I'm sure this will see play somewhere. Like this card's just honestly too good to not see play. It's Rooftop Nuisance. 3 mana sorcery. Freeze and draw in casual. Not every card needs to be constructed playable. 4 mana, owner of target non-land permanent puts it on top or bottom. Oh, the flavor text is great on this thing. Better to depart in haste than be dearly departed. That's great. Security bypass, what do you do? Pay 2 mana, enchant somebody. As long as it is attacking alone, it can't be blocked. And then whenever it deals combat damage, it connives. All right, not awful, not great. Just insert aura here. I still like Aqueous Form better, but I don't think that card sucks. 6 mana 4/6 on a Sewer Crocodile. Pay 4, can't be blocked. 3 less, so just a blue. If there are 5 or more mana values, more good flavor text. Quick, let's hide in the sewer. Now deceased. That's pretty. Sleeping with the fishes. Oh, hey, it's another one I've seen on Twitter. So 4 mana aura, you get a fish that can't be blocked, and enchanted creature doesn't untap during its untap step. So you basically just keep it frozen forever because it also taps it when the battlefield. You also blockable fish. So yeah, that card's kind of slip out the back. Oh, this is the name of the card. Okay, I get it. I've more than 1 or 2 messages. So you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and it's out. So this is a card that a lot of people have been asking, hey man, are you gonna try this card in mono blue? Is this better? And my honest answer is, well, simply put, I don't freaking know yet. The phasing out thing is very, because you get to, as if those things didn't exist, and your creature comes back with a +1. So that's kind of cool. Phasing also beats Supreme Verdict. So if you're stuck holding like a Spell Pierce, a Supreme Verdict, well in that scenario sucks to be you. But if you have a card like Slip Out the Back or March of Swirling Mists, and you can give your creature, well then they cast the Supreme Verdict, you give your creatures phasing, the Supreme Verdict resolves, whatever, cool, and then your phased in creatures come right back in. Also, they can attack because it's not like they, you know, just entered the battlefield. We're already there. They just, you know, phase the battlefield. So there's no summoning sickness shenanigans. So I think a card like this is at least, and I will probably test 2 to 3 somewhere. My suspicion is that I probably will like it, but I don't know yet whether I will like a card like this more. So to be determined, but so far looks impressive. Undercover Operative, what do you do? 4 mana clone, except it has a shield if you control the creature that you're, shit, that's cool. Wing Shield Agent, 3 mana 2/3 shield counter. When it attacks, up to 1 other creature gets flying, but this thing doesn't fly itself. I guess it's a card that exists. Okay, so the blue Hideaway. Hideaway 5 mana. Whenever you draw your first card during each of your draw steps, you draw an additional card. Then if you have 9 or more cards in without paying its cost. Okay. Witness Protection. Oh, is this the other I control your creature for 1 mana aura? It is. I've seen this. So 1 mana aura, it loses all abilities. It's green and white citizen creature with power and toughness 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person. Yeah, so people have been talking about playing this card over Binding the Monster, potentially over Mystic Subdual, again in mono. And this is another one where I'm gonna say, honestly, time will tell and see whether this card is like, because you have a lot of upsides and downs these creatures, right? Like Witness Protection turns a potentially huge creature like a Niv Mizzet into a 1/1 that if you're playing against like Winota and you go ahead and Witness Protection, I don't know, a Llanowar Elf. Well, when they play Winota, a citizen is not a human, so your creature can still attack and do its cool. It's also got upsides and downsides versus a card like Mystic Subdual, where Mystic Subdual easily has the most powerful, but it costs 2 and not 1. So -2 -0 losing all abilities is a lot stronger than something just like, oh, that creature, I don't know, it doesn't do anything to like a 5/5. It just makes it a 3/5 that can still ruin. Elder Gargaroth is still a big ass 4/6, where Witness Protection at least solves whatever problem being presented. But the Winota thing's a real drawback in Pioneer. So this is going to be another one where I think we're just going to test out all the cards, see what we actually, and then just kind of, but so far, at least it's interesting. It leads to discussion. People, I'm hoping, will try cards like this, try cards like Slip Out the Back, and then see which options we actually end up liking as far as the mono. And then, yeah, and also see how cards like the, I already forgot its name, shoot. The white spell that kills red creatures for 1 with 4 toughness or less, and you get, so far, no actual spirits, but we've got a lot of cards that go really well for our decks. So fingers crossed and see if any of the multicolor stuff works for us too. Let's move on to the next color. Keep it moving on to the black cards. What do we got first? Angel of Suffering. 5 mana 5/3 flyer. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. That's cute. Okay. And it's actually appropriate for a mythic too. I like that kind of effect. Body Launderer, 4 mana 3/3 Death Toucher. Whenever another non-token you control dies, this thing connives. When this thing dies, return another target non-rogue creature with equal or lesser power from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, this card seems not bad. It's just like, you know, a miscellaneously good value card. I don't know about Death Touch as the keyword it needed here, but yeah, whatever. It's a card. I don't think it's bad. It'll probably see play in some kind of, you know what? This might actually see some equal or lesser power. Yeah, this might actually see play in one of the black-red decks in Pioneer. It's not a bad value card. 3 mana Hideaway cards. Okay, so the other 2 Hideaway cards that we've seen so far have costed, what, 5 each? So seeing one at 3 is kind of exciting. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can mill 3 cards. Then if there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you can cast the thing, and the mill is a May. All right, cool. So once you're done triggering this cemetery tampering, you don't actually have to keep milling. I think that's a huge plus for a card like this. Corrupt Court Official. All right, not surprised that exists here. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card. Oh, it's Burglar Rat. All right, next. Crooked Custodian. He's got a whole body wrapped up in a rug. I like it. Ogre Rogue, 2 mana 3/2. This thing comes into play tapped. Okay, we've seen those before. Seems fine. Cut of the Prophets. X and black for you draw X cards and you lose X life. Casualty is 3. Cutthroat Contender. 1 mana, 1/1, pay a life. This thing gets +1/+0, but only once per turn. Alright, so this is a card that was actually like, realistically would have seen play like 15-20 years ago in like some kind of suicide black archetype, but honestly, those decks aren't lore, and the fact that this is a vampire, I think still isn't good enough to make this pint. Deal gone bad. 4 mana, -3/-3, target player mills 3 cards. Very much meh again. We've seen these. So demons do 4 mana, scry 2, draw 2, lose 2. Dig up the body. 3 mana, casualty 1, mill 2 cards, and then raise dead. That seems very meh, if I'm being honest. Dusk Mangler, 7 mana, 5/4. And additional cost, you can sacrifice a creature, discard a card, or pay 4 life. When Dusk Mangler enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature and discards a card and loses 4 life. Oh, so it's basically a standard level take on Archon of Cruelty. Okay, except it's just infinitely worse. But if you can get this card into play by a method other than actually casting it, seems fine. Like, they discard a card, they lose a bunch of life, they sacrifice a creature. It's still like a much worse Archon of Cruelty, but whatever, that's probably okay enough for another format. I don't really know what, if anything, wants to play it, but Extract the Truth. 2 mana sorcery. You can choose a creature, enchantment, or planeswalker card from their hand and discard that thing, or target opponent sacrifices an enchantment. That's exactly the kind of card that'll see some number of play. Bake Your Own Death. Until end of turn, it gets +2, and when it dies, come back tapped, and you get a treasure. Alright, cards like that have actually seen play without getting treasures before, so the fact that it gets a treasure seems pretty good. Girder Goons. 5 mana, 4/4. When it dies, you get a tapped 2/2 black rogue. Blitz is 4. Oh, we haven't done Blitz yet. So Blitz means you can pay the Blitz cost. You cast a spell for whatever that cost is, it gets haste, and the creature dies, you get to draw a card, but you gotta sacrifice it at your end step. So yeah, like the Blitz cards give you a lot of different ways to play with the cards you're having. Like, do you want to just pay the full cost and keep it out, or do you want to blitz it and get a card and potentially a dies effect? There's a lot of play to be had there and decisions to make, so I like cards that give you decisions. Graveyard Shift, okay. 5 mana sorcery, but it's got flash if you have 5 or more mana values, and you reanimate. Okay, sure. 5 mana is a lot, but instant speed is sweet, so whatever. Grisly Sigil, a black sorcery, casualty 1. Choose target creature or planeswalker. If it was already dealt non-combat damage this turn, this thing deals 3 to it and you gain 3 life. Otherwise, this thing deals 1 damage to it and you gain a life. I don't like it. Like, I get it, because if you do the casualty and you cast it twice right, the copy is going to resolve and it's going to do 1, and then the real one's going to resolve, and then you do 3 more, so it does a total of 4 damage and 4 life if you sacrifice a creature to make casualty happen. But overall, I just don't really like it. Like, I think 1 damage on a creature for 1 black, infinitely worse than a lot of the black removal that already exists, even at 1. Like, you can play Deadweight and you can have enchantment synergy. You can play Blood Chief's Thirst and potentially kick it for a bigger creature. And then never mind where you can play cards like Fatal Push. So I think this card just doesn't really have a job. And the fact that it can't trigger off of combat makes it even worse. Like, it's gotta specifically be non-combat to do 3 and 3. Sorry, Grisly Sigil, but hard pass. Illicit Shipment. What are you? 5 mana, casualty 3, sorcery, demonic tutor. Sure, this will see play. Yeah, this will definitely see play in some EDH deck. Like, the cards, like 5 mana, search for 2 cards without showing the table seems choose 2 target creatures controlled by the same player. That player sacrifices 1 of them. That's cute. I don't like that it's a sorcery, but 5 mana, get a 4/3, casualty 2, and you get 2 of them. Maestro's Initiate. What are you? 3 mana, 3/1, pay 5, exile this thing from your graveyard, discard 2, draw 2, then drop 1. Yeah, sure, why not? Alright, I play that in limited pretty happily too. Midnight Assassin, 3 mana, 1/2 flying Death Touch. Next. Murder, we've seen Murder a million times. Night Clubber, 3 mana, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, what? Creatures your opponents control get -1 until end of turn. This card's so good. Holy Jesus. Yeah, what? This card's really good. I expect us to see some non-zero mono play somewhere, I don't know, but it's gonna see play, and whatever it sees play in, it's gonna be relevant and sweet. Somebody's gonna get wrecked by this thing. Holy crap, that card seems... Raffine's Silencer. 3 mana 1/1, ETB Connives. When it dies, target a creature an opponent controls gets -X, where -X is this thing's power. Sure, that's cool. I don't think it's good, but I also don't just hate it. Revel Ruiner. 4 mana 3/1 Menace. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. Sure. Miscellaneous connive card here. Rogue's Gallery. For each color, return... Oh, sorry. I was busy looking at the artwork for a second because, I don't know, it's just super cool, right? Like, Rogue's Gallery itself reminds people of, Batman, in his Rogue's Gallery. That's what everybody calls Batman's group of villains. So I was checking out, like, you know, all the different gang leaders, I guess you would call the mythic bosses from this set. So I assume what, like Jund, Naya, Esper, Bant, Grixis probably. Did I mix them up? I'll find out when I get to the multicolor things. I'm just going based off of like costumes and looks. Whatever, I'll assume I'm right until I see the multicolors I missed. But anyway, Rogue's Gallery. For each color, return up to 1 target creature card of that color from your graveyard tier. Oh, that's kind of cool. So this can potentially be like a 3 mana draw 5 from your graveyard. I mean, that can't not be good somehow. I expect this to actually... It's an uncommon too. You know, this is one of those cards that like the foil of this because of EDH might end up being a $10 foil because of how good this is in certain bunch, because realistically they're probably like, yeah, I don't know, card sweet, I like it. Sanguine Spy, blah blah vampire. All right, 3 mana 2/3 menace and lifelink. Pay 1, sacrifice somebody else. Look at the top card of your library. Oh, surveil. Okay. Pay 1, sack somebody else, surveil 1. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 5 or more mana value among cards in your graveyard, you can pay 2 life to draw a card. Shit, that part seems... Yeah, this card seems like gas. Like, 5 or more mana value is probably kind of hard to do. If you can, 2 life to draw a card every turn? This thing is sick. Yeah, I would not be surprised to see this seeing play some... Like, I'd probably... expect to see this played as like a 2-of maybe in Pioneer Vampires, but also like in just Commander anyway, because when you're starting at 40 life, paying 2 to draw a card every turn seems really crazy as far as value. So I don't know, correct me, tell me if like a 3 mana 2/3 is just like not good enough, even if you're drawing another card every turn. Like maybe I'm just thinking that this card's a lot stronger than it is in a format that can play like Thassa's Oracle. I don't know. Yeah, y'all tell me, because I don't really play much EDH, so I don't know what happens there. But if your starting life total is 40 instead of 20, I feel like paying 2 life to draw a card, I've gotta have some value, right? So yeah, y'all let me know what's up. Shadow of... Oh, I've heard about this. It's the other Death Shadow. All right, so what do you actually do? 13 and then 2 black, so 15 total. Shit, the picture's really cool too. If your starting life total is... I'm sorry, if your life total is less than your starting life, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is. If you are at 20 life, you cannot. If you are at 10 life, it costs 10 less, so you will pay. If you are at 7 life, you will pay just black. It seems okay. Probably still worse than Scourge of the Skyclaves if you're looking for creatures number 5 through 8 of Death Shadow. If you're at 12 life, right, this thing still costs 10 to cast or some such. Can't cast this thing. I don't know. I think it's worse than Scourge of the Skyclaves, but still at least kind of playable. Shakedown Heavy, a 3 mana 6/4. Okay. Whenever this thing attacks, defending player can have you draw a card. If they do, Maze of It. Yeah, I don't know. Seems okay. Both choices are good, drawing a card or having a 6/4 attacking. I don't like cards that give opponents choices. I want to have all the choices. Oh, I've seen this. This is a card that's already been a thing before. Tavern Swindler. Like that's a reprint. And if it's not a direct reprint, then the other one was a 1/3 for 2 instead of 2/2 for 2. But either way, this effect has already existed. Tenacious Underdog. What do you do? A 2 mana 3/2 with Blitz. Okay. You can cast this thing from your graveyard using its Blitz ability. Shit, this card's great. Like a 2 mana 3/2 is already like pretty much the line that you would draw for actually wanting to cast a creature like that doesn't have extra keywords. Oh, you also pay 2 life as part of the Blitz though. So Blitz is 2 and 2 black and 2 life. So 2/2/2. But you get a 3/2 haste creature out of your graveyard that also draws you a card when it dies, whether it's in combat or at the end step. Shit, this card's impressive. I think it's really good. If this card isn't seeing play somewhere, call me very surprised. I expect that a card like this will immediately see play in like black-white humans in, or even 5-color humans in Pioneer. This card's just like really impressive to me. It's like, I like this thing a lot. Because like, again, a 2-mana 3/2 is already a pretty good rate for an aggressive creature. It pressures a Narset after just one activation of her. 2-mana 3/2 when you're just like on the play is already a clock that your opponent needs to respect, especially when you're already playing things like Thalias, like, you know, whatever humans play. Somebody tell me in the comments. It's gonna be a 1 white mana 2/1, give something else indestructible when you sacrifice it. So like if you curve off of that into this or Thalia the other way around, on turn 3 you can play like Thalia's Lieutenant plus 1 drop. You just have like a crazy clock. And if they have a Supreme Verdict, then you just get to like revive this thing and keep the train going and draw a card. So yeah, I like Tenacious Underdog a lot. I expect this card to see some. What's next? Tenacious Underdog, we've got Vampire Scrivener. What do you do? A 5-mana 2/2. Okay, flyer. Whenever you gain life during your turn, you get a +1. And whenever you lose life during your turn, you get a +1. That's got a lot of combo potential. Okay. Whack. 4 mana, 3. Okay, so just a black if it's a white creature, and target creature gets -4/-4. I think that's strictly worse than Ray of Enfeeblement? No, it's not strictly worse. It's a sorcery. It's not an instant. Crap. Okay, so that means I still like Ray of Enfeeblement a lot more. So Ray of Enfeeblement is just a black, but it's an instant. And then target creature gets -4/-1. But if it's white, it gets -4/-4 instead. Where this thing always costs 4 and is a sorcery, but it always gives -4 toughness, so it can always kill bigger non-white creatures, but Ray of Enfeeblement always costs 1, so there's your trade-off. I think because of the sorcery versus instant bit, I would always choose to play Ray of Enfeeblement. A card like Whack certainly has value. I don't hate it, but I don't like it more than Raven. Looks like we've come to the end of our black cards too, and oh, I'm enjoying the Tenacious Underdog. It's got the art where it's, you know, he's a boxer and stuff, and that's pretty sweet. So yeah, all right, I'm here for it. Let's move on to our next color. So next up we got the red cards. Let's start with Antagonist. 2 mana +4/+3. Yawn. Next, insert pump spell here. Arcane Bombardment. 6 mana enchantment. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, you exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your grave. Then you copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment, and you can cast any number of the copies without pay. Oh, that's cute. It's just another one of those like 1,000-Year Storm type effects where like your spells just super compound onto each other, and if you're I don't know, miscellaneous like rituals and cantrips and stuff, this just magnifies those to 100. So I can see the application, but at 6 mana, I don't think it's actually playable. Big score, what do you do? Oh, this is already a card. So 4 mana, discard a card, you draw 2, you get 2 treasure tokens. I think the other one's called Pirate's Pillage? That sounds right? That's because I am right. Discard a card, you draw 2, you get 2 treasures. Yeah, so just another reprint. Cool card. Call in a Professional. What do you do? 3 mana instant. Players can't gain life this turn. Damage can't prevent it this turn. This thing does 3 damage to any target. Oh, okay, sure. So it's basically Skullcrack, except you can hit creatures. Whatever, card exists. I don't think this is good enough to see playing. Daring Escape, +1/+0, first strike for just the red, and you scry. Sure, we've seen that effect a million times. Devilish Valet, a 3 mana 1/3 trample and haste. Okay. Whenever another creature enters a battlefield under your control, you double this thing's power until end of turn. Oh, that's cute. Okay. So if you play this thing on 3, and then you follow it up with something, let's just say a Horde, then it'll go from 2 to 4 to 8 power because the creatures came into the battlefield, and it will double every single. So this will be really cool with something, and it tramples too. So if you're doing this with something that just like makes a crap tokens, or you just for some reason have a bunch of creatures in the battlefield under your control, like say this is on the table, and I don't know, you're playing. Oh, that's actually kind of cool, right? Because okay. Say we're playing red white, and you play this thing. You have a full board. Your opponent's playing blue white control, right? And then they go to Supreme Verdict. Now. Oh no, that doesn't work. That doesn't, because facing doesn't count as leaving the battle. Shoot, I was gonna say you can play like Guardian. Yeah, whatever, let's go back to the tokens. So this still works with token creators pretty well, where you can just like, again, cast like a Hordeling Outburst, you put 3 tokens into play at the same time, and Devilish Valet will see 3 instances of its Alliance ability, so it's gonna double times, and this only gets better, you know, actually use this thing's power. So if you cast, I don't know, some pump spell, or you have a thing that says Warrior +1/+0, or whatever the scenario, and all of a sudden this thing has 2 power instead of just 1. Well, now if you resolve that same Whirling Outburst, you get to from 2 to 4, 8, and 16 with Trample and Haste instead of just 1 power. So this thing can get out of hand pretty quickly, but I expect it to not the least cool thing I've ever seen. Exhibition Magician. I love stupid little rhymes. Anyway, a 3 mana 2/1. You can get a token or get a treasure token. Card doesn't suck. Glittering Stockpile. 3 mana, add red and you get a stash counter on this thing. You can sacrifice this thing and you add X of any one color where X is the number of stash counters. Sure. Alright, that card seems pretty playable. Goldhound. Like, any mono red EDH players would absolutely love something Glittering Stockpile, because it's not like you have to choose between stash counters. You just get stash counters when you would already want to be adding them. So yeah, I think the card rocks pretty hard. First Strike Menace. Sacrifice this thing, add a mana of any color. Oh, you know what? We really want to play this? That's hilarious. So a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months now, I don't know, sometime, I actually played a modern Winota deck and ended up 5-0ing too, which is pretty sweet. So I don't know, check out and in that deck, I was playing 4 copies of Ragavan because when Rags hits, it makes treasure tokens and it, you know, is still like a mana dork in that respect. Also just like a really good card. But now Goldhound is another creature that you can play to make mana, and you can have this thing ramp you up into a turn 3 Winota, but it's a non-human creature, so when you attack with it, it actually triggers. So this would actually take over that Wild Cantor spot in that list if you were to stick with exactly red, you know, Birds of Paradising. Yeah, that's kind of a cool application. I like this thing. What's next? Horde Hauler. What do you do? A 4 mana 5/5 vehicle crew. It's got trample, and when it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token for every artifact they control. What? That seems so busted in Commander. Holy shit, this card seems good. I mean, yeah, sure, it's 4 mana and you got a crew 3, but like realistically, that just means most of the time you just like play this thing on turn 2 or turn 3 and then just like untap with this in play and you play, or you smack somebody with this and you get like a crap ton of treasures. Like, yeah, this thing seems like it rocks really hard there. I can totally understand why that's a rare. Involuntary Employment. Okay. Press Gang. 4 mana sorcery, steal somebody, get a treasure token. Okay, whatever. Another threat effect. Jack. A 2 mana plus 2. Oh, it's Bone Splitter. It's literally just Bone Splitter, but red and 1 more mana because of Jaxus the Troublemaker. A 4 mana 2/3 with Blitz. And you pay red, you tap this thing, you discard a card, you get a token that's another creature you control. It gets haste, and when it dies, you draw a card. Oh, so you blitz a token. But you can only activate this thing as a sorcery. Aw. I still think this card's probably worth playing. Like, I don't know, it seems pretty cool. Too bad it's only as a sorcery. So, like, I'm not tempted to ever play this over, for example, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but this is still a card that exists. It's still very cool, and of course it's legendary, so that means that if you want to play like a mono red, this thing actively seems with this type of thing, right? Again, correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not a but it still seems really cool because you get to have a discard outlet in your command. You get to have a clone effect, again, as you're always available. And when this thing dies and goes to the command zone, you can get around that shitty tax by just paying 1 in a red. You don't have to pay 6 mana ever for this card. Because normally if you have your commander die, I don't know why I'm telling you, I'm sure everybody watching this plays a lot more, but just in case. Normally when your commander would leave the battlefield, instead of wherever it would naturally go, hand, back in the graveyard, exile, whatever, you can put your commander back into your command zone where it's always accessible, except it has a death counter on it each time this. And for every death counter on your command zone, you're paying 2 more generic, I'm sorry, for your legendary creature. If you're paying alternate costs for your, like Blitz, then you don't have to worry about the commander tax. So somebody tell me if I'm wrong on that, because I feel like the rule for that could go either way, because Blitz is still casting the spell instead of putting it, it's an alternate cost, so 2 alternate costs also can't like be attached to the same card that you're casting at once. So yeah, somebody let me know how the rules on that works, but I think that this thing should break the rule and you should always be able to blitz it for 2 is how I believe this card should work. And I don't see a ruling section for this yet, so yeah, whatever. Somebody tell me in the comments, am I good at rules, or am I inexperienced at command? Make fun of me if you have the light them up. What do you do? 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, not player. Sorcery and casualty? Yikes, get that out of my screen. Mayhem Patrol. 2 mana, 1/2 menace. When this thing attacks, target creature gets +1/+0, and it blitzes for 2. Sure, that's cute. I don't think it's good. Plasma Jockey. 4 mana, 3/1, blitzes 3. When this thing attacks, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. Sure. I think this is one of the worst versions of this effect we've seen in a while. Red creatures that tell people they can't block are always at least worth. Oh my god, the name on this thing is sick. Professional Facebreaker? Yo, I don't even care what the card does. I like it. 3 mana, 2/3 with menace. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token? Jesus. Sacrifice a treasure, exile. This card is so busted, are you kidding me? Sacrifice a treasure, you exile the top card of your library, you can play that card this turn? What the hell is this thing? This is so absolutely busted. So you generate mana whenever a creature you control hits a player, and it doesn't even have to be this creature, it can be something else. And it's got menace, so it's more likely to do damage when you attack with the Professional Facebreaker. And you can sacrifice treasures that this card makes to effectively draw more cards from the top of your deck. And treasures are ridiculously easy, especially in red, where you have something like Dockside Extortionist. This card is straight up sicko mode. Holy shit, this thing's busted. So yeah, it's a regular rare, so I don't think it's going to be expensive because it's not a mythic. This is another one of those cards that I expect foils of this thing. Freaking bananas. Pugnacious Pugilist. Another good name. Oh, it's got like the devil whispering in his ear and stuff. And okay, got it. When it attacks, you get a tapped and attacking devil. Oh, okay, got it. Devil on your shoulder. And then it blitzes for 4 instead of 5. I don't think it's actually good in anything, but I would very happily slam that down. Pyre Sledge Arsonist. 3 mana, 2/2, pay 1 and tap. Deals X to any target, where X is the number of permanents you've sacrificed this turn. I don't even want that in the sacrifice decks. Ready to rumble. Oh, okay. Let's get ready to rumble! Somebody tell me if that was good or not. 5 mana, sorcerer. 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker, or destroy an artifact. What a great name for what a bad card. River Tears Initiate. 2 mana, 2/2, 1 and a black oracle. Give Death Touch. Very medium. Moving along. Riveteer's Requisitioner. 2 mana, 3/1. When it dies, you get a treasure token and you blitz for it. Actually, no. Not just sure. I think this card's actively. Yeah, no. I'm gonna walk that back. I think this card's better than my initial response gave for it. So like early game, you can just play this as a 2 mana, 3/1. When you're on the play, that's a pretty impressive clock for a red. So like, yeah, when you pay 2 mana for a 3 power attacker in a red deck that has no downsides, you're already pretty happy about that. And then the blitz gives you the same treasure token, and you get to have a haste creature in your red deck, and you get to draw a card when it goes away. Okay, I like this card a lot more than I was initially. Rob the Archives. Oh, I've heard about this. I don't like this card, but I've heard about it. It's 2 mana sorcery, casualty 1. You exile the top 2 cards of your library. You can play those cards this turn. I think I like this card a lot less than, what's the other one? Reckless Impulse, or even Light Up the State. Because Reckless Impulse is like the closest, closest comparison. Because it's 2 mana with no cap. You exile the top 2 cards of your deck, but until the end of your next turn, those cards. So if Rob the Archives sees 2 lands off the top of your deck, sucks. But if Reckless Impulse does, you can at the very least play one of those lands on your next turn. The fact that it's only available the cards this turn, I think is just like not fantastic. Even if a card like Reckless Impulse or Light Up can never see cards like Rob the Archives can, I still think Rob the Archives is worse. So now we get to see Sizzling Soloist, and heavy respect on the artwork here. Let's check this out. Like, this is sick. I love this. What good, Hamid. 4 mana, 3/2 Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, a creature your opponent controls can't block this turn. Okay. If it's the second time this ability is resolved this turn, that creature is taunted. Okay. I like the can't block part. The taunt part, maybe not so much, but whatever. Sticky Fingers. Are you kidding me? Just a red. Enchant creature has menace, and when it slaps somebody you get a treasure token, and when that creature dies you draw a card. Wow, that card's really good. Just sorcery speed, 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. It is a sorcery, but I don't hate it. I think I would play that card in something. 5 mana, structural assault. Sorcery speed, destroy all artifacts, and then structural assault deals damage to each creature equal to the number of artifacts that were put into graveyards from the battlefield this turn. I think I'm pretty Torch Breath. X in a red, 2 lets the cast if it targets a blue permanent, can't be countered, and X damage to creature or planeswalker. Okay, so if you're targeting something that is blue, then you can pay just a red and it's a shock. If you pay a total of 2 mana, it's an incinerate. Got it. Okay, and it can't be countered, so it's pretty sweet. If you pay, just 1 in a red, it's an uncounterable, deal 3 damage to Narset. Or of course, just pay a red and it's 2 damage to a spirit. It's still seems much worse than like Rending Valley, because this always deals 4 damage to a white or blue creature, but Rending Valley can't hit Narset. It always costs 1, but Torch Breath can at least deal damage to non-blues too, where this can only ever target blue or white creatures. Same thing with, but at least Fry for 2 does 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker that's whiter. But again, this can hit something of any color. So like if you're on the play, for example, and I don't know, they're playing some deck that has both like Llanowar Alphafax and permanents that you want to kill, then at least this Torch Breath can technically pay 2 mana to get rid of that Llanowar Elf if you're really in a bind. So this card's a little more versatile, but a lot less powerful than Value or Fry. So that's going to be, I guess, my 2 cents on Torch. I don't think I'll be playing anything, but I at least see the application. Unlucky Witness. 1 mana 1/1. When it dies, you exile the top 2 cards of your library until your next end step you can play 1 of those cards. A lot worse than Experimental Synthesizer. Urabrask, Heretic Praetor, what do you do? 5 mana 4/4 with haste. Okay, something Phyrexian, got it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can exile the top card of your library and play it this turn, so essentially draw 2 cards per turn. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they would draw a card this turn, instead they exile the top card of the library. So it stops them from ever holding cards. For example, if you're playing against a deck like Blue-White Control and they would naturally draw a card like Absorb or Dovin, this exiles. And if it's something like a counterspell or a card they can't afford to cast, or just like some instant speed, like some instant speed card that would respond to a thing cards forever, seems okay. I mean, I'm more excited about the 5 mana 4/4 haste, but I can at least see where this could lock out some cards against decks like Control. Okay, I don't hate it, don't love it. Widespread Thieving, 3 mana Hideaway. Whenever you cast a multicolor spell, create a treasure. Then you can spend Woober. If you do, you can pay the exiled card without paying its... I do really like the part where you can cast a multicolor spell to get a treasure token every single time. Paying Wooburg to get a Hideaway card seems a little medium, but like that's probably acceptable in a deck that crap ton of treasures because you're just playing like... So if you're playing something like, say, I don't know, Niv Mizzet Reborn as a counter and this card's on a table, you probably already want everything. So like minus this and like 4 other cards in your deck, probably you just have like a mega colored stuff, so and then you just get some big stupid spell off Hideaway. So yeah, this card's probably a lot better than I'm giving it credit for, but not because of the Hideaway, just because of the... Man, everything makes a treasure in this set. What the H? Witty Roastmaster, that would be me. 3 mana 3/2, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 opponent. Oh, this card seems okay. I don't know that I like it at 3 mana instead of 2 mana, because you can just play something like an Impact Tremors, but it's a creature at least, so it does its own attacking. 4 mana 4/5, Reach and Trample, insert common here, and looks like that's going to be the end of red. So do we have any super cool pictures? If I'm being honest, not particularly. We do have this Phyrexian version of Urabrask, which is kind of cool. 1, 2, 3, 4 versions of Urabrask, of course. Insert Phyrexian mythic thing here. All right. Oh, no, actually, no, I'm a liar. This Arcane Bombardment looks... I take back all of my shit talking about this card because this picture is so good. I still don't like the card, but this picture is... All right, well, that's going to be the end of our red. Let's move on to our next color. All right, and on to our last Monocolor section, the green cards. Let's see what we got. Tended Socialite. What do you do? 1 and a green for a 2/1 alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you get +1 until end of turn. It's not a counter. That's unfortunate. Whatever. Insert basic common here. Oh yeah, this has been all over. So Bootlegger Stash is 5 and a green for an artifact. Lands you control have tapped to create a treasure token, and in Commander, this theme seems absolute. It's a mythic. It's the talk of the town. Everybody's really been ranting and as far as what I've seen on my Twitter feed for people who play Commander, and I'm sure it's justified. There's no part of that effect that doesn't seem. Whatever, we'll see what people end up doing with it. Bouncer's Beatdown. 2 and a green for an instant, 2 less of it targets a black. This thing does X damage to target creature or planeswalker, where X is the greatest power amongst creatures you control, and if it would die this turn, you exile it instead. Okay, so basically just 1 mana bite, but bite for your biggest thing. Broken Wings, we've seen that a million times. Cabaretti Initiate, what do you do? Oh, it's Rocket Raccoon, that's cute. Anyway, a green for a 1/2, 2 in a Boros. You get double strike until end of turn. Yeah, that's kind of cool. All right. Chaldea Strongarm. 5 mana for a 2/3 with Blitz 4. You put 2 +1s on target creature. So okay, so this thing can be a 4/5 by itself, or you can blitz it, which is pretty sweet, pump something else, keep the counters, draw the card when it goes away, and you're still pretty happy about that. Yeah, this card seems dope. Capenna Express. I would ride that. This thing's sweet. 4 mana for a 6/6 crew 3. Sack a treasure, and it just crews itself. All right, that's kind of cool. Oh, whoa, that's a common. Oh, all right. Being a common means you can play this thing in Pauper. Yeah, that card seems. When this thing attacks, untap target creature or land. 2 mana 2/2. We have seen this effect a few times or so. That's not really any particularly new with Civic Garden. Cleanup Crew, 6 mana 6/6 human. Choose 1, destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, exile a card from a graveyard, or gain 4 life. The fact that it's a human and it's huge does mean that its potential Winota fodder, but it's not better than like the Werewolf Grave Titan, but still something that gets to be. Courier's Briefcase, 1 and a green for an artifact that's also a treasure. Tap, sack, add a mana, so treasure. When it enters a battlefield, you get a green-white token. Wooburg, sap this thing, draw 3 cards. Yeah, alright, that's a cool utility card. Also, like, it's just an artifact, so I'm sure there's random synergy in Modern that this will take advantage of, but it is an uncommon, not a common, so this is not going to be a Pauper playable card. That's exactly the kind of card that, Pauper Affinity probably play, but they can't because it's uncommon, so meh. Elegant Entourage, 4 mana for a 4/4 alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature other than this thing gets +1s and trample until end of turn. Meh. Alright, it's an uncommon. Evolving Door. Oh, is this the Birthing Pod? This is the Birthing Pod, okay. So it's 2 and a green for an artifact. You pay 1, you tap this thing, you sacrifice a creature. You count the colors of the sacked creature, and then you search your library for a creature card that is exactly that many colors +1. You exile, shuffle, and then you can cast the exiled card. This does a few things. Of course, you can make your creatures. This doesn't do any mana costs, right? So if you have like a Birds of Paradise that's 1 color, you can sack Birds of Paradise to transmute it into like a Drogskull Reaver, which is a 7-drop but is 2 colors. You can totally do that, but you exile the card, shuffle, and then you can cast a card. So you still have to actually pay. Evolving Door doesn't put anything on the table. It doesn't cast any cards. It just lets you look for a card. Also, this thing's sorcery only, so there's it's more of like a decent tutor than anything else, but just know that it doesn't let you like super cheater. It just happens to be able to have your colors be cool when you search Birds of Paradise into a 2-color thing, into a 3-color thing. So if you have some cool like Corridor Monitor, can change like Corridor Monitor into a 2-color spell like Renegade Rallier to buy back the Corridor Monitor, untap the Evolving, rinse and reuse, those kind of things until you have like, I don't know, build your own Birthing Pod loop, as long as you have them for all the creatures. So like this is a card that has a lot of combo potential, but as you know, not your resident combo player, I won't be the one trying to break it, but you know, maybe some possibilities are there. Check it out. What's after Evolving? Got Fight Rigging. Is Hideaway. Oh man, this Rhino's beating the crap out of this dude. Oh my god. Anyway, 3 mana, Hideaway 5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you put a +1 counter on target creature you control. Then if you have somebody with power 7 or greater, you can cast a Hideaway card. Whatever. It's adorable. It's not great. For the family, what do you do? Green, just a green for an instant. Creature gets +2. but if you have 4 more creatures, it gets +4s until, like, I don't know, I think it's like just a much worse Might of Old Croso. Freelance Muscle, 5 mana 4/4. Whenever this thing attacks or blocks, it gets +X's, where X is the greatest power and or toughness amongst other creatures you control. Okay, sure. Just insert big giant Winmore Rhino. Gala Greeters, what do you do? 2 mana 1/1 Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn, okay? So you can put a +1 counter on this thing, or get a tapped treasure, or get 2 life, and you can only do this a maximum of 3 triggers per turn, because it's each one that hasn't been chosen. I don't hate this. Especially if you're playing a deck like Elves that can just like poop out creatures really easily, right? Like you have Collected Company is 2 creatures, Dwynen's Elite is 2 creatures, Elvish Clan Caller can get additional creatures. If you're on Arena, I think Imperious Perfect is legal in Historic. So there's a lot of ways to get multiple Elves in a turn. So I feel like this thing, especially with the create a tapped treasure token, gotta have a lot of potential somewhere. Littermonger, what do you do? 4 mana for a 1/4 elf, tapped to create a treasure. High Rise Saj, a 3 mana 2/3 reach. It's not a spider, it's an elf citizen. When this thing blocks a creature with flying, it's +2/+0. Oh, we've seen that card, except it was just a spider. All right, Jewel Thief, a 3 mana 3/3. What? This card's insane. 3 mana for a 3/3 common with Vigilance and Trample. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token? What the hell? This card's insane. That's so good. All right, Magic. I see we are pushing the power level of the commons pretty high. All right, Luxurious Libation. X and a green for an uncommon instant. Creature gets +X's and you get a 1. Most Wanted. Aura Flash. Creature gets +2/+1, and when it dies, you get 2 treasure tokens. Okay, I was not kidding earlier. Everything makes treasure. Oh, it's the same Rhino from earlier, except now it's getting knocked out by Rocket Raccoon. That's hilarious. So 1 and a green, creatures fight, and you get a treasure. Sure. It is an instant though, so that's worth it. A Rock's Pummel. 6 mana for a 6/3, enters the battlefield with a shield counter, and it's got trample as long as it has a shield. Riveteer's Decoy. 2 mana for a 3/1, it's gotta be blocked, so it's got the unicorn text, or I guess lore. Is lore a keyword yet? EDH players, help me out. Is that a keyword that exists already? No, it can't be a keyword. It's, and Blitz is full. Like, creatures should just have lore. Social Climber. Oh man, I love this art. Carly Mazur. Is that the same lady who did the Faithless Looting? Because it looks almost like that style with the, you know, the human just doing their thing in the picture, but then you see like this very flat. She is the same. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, because this style reminded me a lot of it though. Like she's got like the little throne that she's sitting on. She's showing off the wedding ring, like, hey, check it out. I'm, you know, bled by marrying up, and I've got this huge rock on my finger to prove it. She's got like the wine going on, the Karen haircut. So like 3 mana for a 3/2 alliance. Whenever another, oh, it's a soul sister. She's literally a soul sister. Okay, except she's a 3 mana soul sister. I feel so bad for this card because, like, honestly, this card sucks, but I like the artwork so much that I don't. Probably expand on that. So I actively like the artwork for Faithless Looting, but I hate the crop job to be, I guess, Magic card size. So if we check out the Faithless Looting from Mystical Archives, that's the Japanese one. Here it is. So like this artwork, I think is really good art. I don't know, it's just a solid, but unfortunately, like this picture in this size just looks really misplaced and just don't get to see. And if you actually check out like the full picture, looking for, no, I just want like the full image. And you know, good thing I'm primarily using is like Google and whatnot for just like Magic related things, but it did just now occur to me that I don't like a safe search on or anything, and I probably should. Here's, I guess, not framed in a Magic card. I think this picture looks pretty sweet, right? Like, you know, she's got her spell casting. Here's the presumably blood being poured out of the vial or whatever this thing is. You've got like the smoke for soothsaying or whatever spell she's casting. You know, like looks all mysterious and dark, but also the art looks like kind of cartoonish and simple because like the flat colors and stuff, and it works, it looks cool. But when you put it on a Magic card, unfortunately it's just like cropped and weird looking, and you just don't get to appreciate the full image by it just looks like way too cartoonish for a Magic card, which you still have some expectation of non-cartoonish cards specifically. It's not, yeah, I don't know, I just not enough appreciation for it out there, and I'm glad that this is so recognizable as being the same artist, but this card sucks, so I doubt anybody's gonna care. Is basically the TLDR. So I don't know, ignore my Magic related shower thought, I guess. So what do we got now? Take to the Streets. 5 mana sorcery, creatures you control get +2s, citizens you control get an additional +1 and vigilance until end. Sure, why not? So it's just like insert overrun effect. Titan of Industry, you are a mythic. You cost a total of 7, and honestly this picture's sweet looking. It reminds me of Iron Giant, where like, you know, you just have like this big ass metal structure just going around able to fuck shit up, and Titan of Industry certainly looks like it's fucking shit up, but it's an elemental, not like, I don't know, a mech or a golem, so whatever, it's what it is. 7 mana 7/7, reach and trample, enters the battlefield, choose 2. The first one is disenchant, target player gains 5 life, you get a 4/4 Rhino, no trample. I feel like Rhino should have trample. Anyway, or put a shield counter on a creature you control. Okay, sure. So like it can give itself a shield counter, just have like a big ass shield counter on a 7/7 trample. That's pretty big. Reach sucks. Hate reach. Obvious reasons. But yeah, I don't know. Big dumb creature. Topiary Stomper, a 3 mana 4/4 plant dinosaur with vigilance. Enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped and then shuffle, but it can't attack or block unless you control 7 or more lands. Oh, it's Wayward Sawtooth. I know that. So it's a 3 mana 5/5, you can play extra lands, and it can't attack or block unless you have the City's Blessing, which is 10 permanents. So it's basically that card, except done better. Like, you don't get a 5/5, but a 4/4 vigilance is probably better than a 5/5 anyway. Also, this searches for a land, so like it gets you towards the goal, whereas Wayward Sawtooth doesn't to the goal. Like, yeah, sure, you put 1 permanent on a table and it's a 5/5, but like getting a land on it is a lot better, being able to play it. So I like this card a lot better than Wayward Sawtooth, but ultimately I don't expect either to actually see. Venom Connoisseur, what do you do? 2 mana for a 2/2 alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, this thing gets Death Touch. If the second time this ability is resolved this turn, everybody you have gets Death Touch. Cool. Not good, just cool. Vivian on the Hunt. 6 mana Planeswalker for loyalty, +2, sack a creature. If you do, you search your library for a creature with mana value. Oh, Birthing Pod. Yeah, it's literally Birthing Pod. 6 mana for loyalty, +2 Birthing Pod. +1, mill 5, then put any number of creature cards milled this way into your hand, so lead to Stampede. And -1 is you get a 4/4 Rhino. Again, no trample, but still, -1. I mean, I don't expect her to see play in tournament formats, but this card seems bust over ED. Like, just a repeatable Birthing Pod on a Planeswalker when you're plussing loyalty, and then just like, if you're low in resources, to Stampede with her other +1. Yeah, no, this card seems good. I don't think it'll actually see play in any of the formats I have, but if you're a Commander player, I think Vivian's pretty solid. Voice of the Vermin, 4 mana 2/2 shield counter. When it attacks, target creature you control has base 4/4 until end. Doesn't seem terrible. 3 mana instant. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can get a creature card from among them to your hand, put everybody else on the bottom, and then you get a 1. Seems okay. I don't think I'd play that. Workshop Warchief. 5 mana, a 5/3 trample. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 life. When it dies, you get a... Oh, it's Thragtusk. It's even a 5/3 for 5. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, it's literally just like a different Thragtusk. You gain less life, but you get a bigger creature when it dies. Yeah, I don't know. Card's good. It'll see play. Like, this card will see play probably all over Standard. Like, I'm sure the mono green deck is still a deck, right? Somebody who plays Standard. I can even see this seeing some non-zero amount of play in Pioneer. Yeah, because I don't think Thragtusk is actually legal, right? Like, I think the cutoff for legality is like 2 sets after Thragtusk left. Yeah, it's not Pioneer. So you cannot play Thragtusk in there, but you can play this Workshop. So if you're looking for something that might be like, I don't know, anti-mono red tech, don't think that you can depend on Elder Gargaroth because you actually need to get into combat with Elder Gargs. Maybe look at this Workshop. You know, just like a big ass body, it leaves you have a big ass body, it blitzes, and it has haste, but no matter what, you're gaining the 3 life unless they skull crack you or something. So yeah, no, this card seems like it could do something. And that is gonna be it for our green section. So now what do we got left? Just multicolor things and artifacts? Oh, and lands. Ooh, all right, so let's move on to the multicolor cards. Okay, we got multicolor section right here, and first up is gonna be Avon Heartstabber. What do you do? Blue, black, flying, 1/1. As long as there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, this thing has +2s and Death Touch. And when it dies, you mill 2 and then draw 1. I know where I would want to play this card, but I like the fact that it provides value when it dies. I don't think I would want to play this in any of Modern, definitely not Legacy, where Baleful Strix and Icefang Coatl exist. Modern Icefang Coatl still exists. Pioneer, what is this card really doing? Yeah, I think this is gonna be one of those cards that like is a cool little value card, but like where is its home? And Bird Assassin is like completely irrelevant as far as creature types. So yeah, I think this card is just ultimately not gonna have a home, even though, you know, getting a little bit of value out of your cards and putting things in the graveyard is it's not nothing, but I don't think this card's Black Market Tycoon, green red, 2/2, cat rogue. Again with the cats, I like the cats. Beginning of your upkeep, this thing deals 2 damage to you for every treasure you control, then it taps to make a treasure. Oh, so there's trade-offs. Yeah, I don't think I'm here for it. The 2 life is just like way too steep of a cost to get your treasures and stuff, so I don't know, I could be wrong. Body Dropper, okay. Rakdos for a 2/2. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, you put a +1 counter on this thing. You pay Rakdos, sacrifice another creature, and this thing gets menace until. I don't think this will see play in the sacrifice decks, but I don't know, it's on theme, it's cool. I just don't think it's good. Brazen Upstart. So you pay Naya for a 4/2 Vigilance. When this thing dies, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You can reveal a creature, put them into your hand, put everybody else on the bottom. I don't know. Card's cool. Picture's great. I think the card's bad. The artwork for that thing is absolutely great. Broker's Ascendancy. At the beginning of your end step, it's literally just banned for an enchantment. I'm sorry, green, white, blue. At the beginning of your end step, you put a +1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker. Another card that I think will never see the light of day as far as constructed formats. Maybe standard, I don't know. There could be like some Bant Flyers deck that we're, if that's a thing, please DM me the list. But I assume it's not. And I don't know, unless you're playing in like an EDH group that has a lot of sweepers, like, you know, unless you're playing in a pod that has a lot of stuff like that, the number of times you can like stack, like turn after turn after turn until your little army is huge. That seems really great, especially if you're playing like a token creating deck where you can make a bunch of tokens with something like, I don't know, say Martial Coup, and then at the end of your turn, all your 1/1s are now 2/2s, and then you have like a actually formidable army. Like that seems like a pretty cool thing with Broker's Ascendancy. Or you can just like play this in a planeswalker centric deck where you're just trying to like stack loyalty counters for, you know, really fast ultimates on all your walkers. Like that seems, this thing, Doubling Season, I assume there's a couple of other cards in that vein that give you permanence, so like that could be a thing. I don't know. Broker's Charm, all the Broker's cards, got it. Pay Bant for an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker it controls. Oh, so +1 and bite. Got it. Destroy target enchantment or draw 2 cards. It doesn't do an artifact, but it draws 2 cards. I don't think this card is good enough to see play, but it's very cool. I certainly don't dislike this card. I think it's actually a Cabaret Ascendancy. At the beginning, for an enchantment. All the Ascendancies are enchantments, in case I forget to say it. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature or a planeswalker card, you can reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put the card in, you can put it on the bottom of your library. Okay, cool. So basically you get to draw an extra good card every turn, or if the card sucks and you don't want it, you can put it at the bottom. And it's a May effect, so you get to choose. That seems okay. Oh, it's upkeep too, so it's actually better than I thought. I actually thought it was end step like the other Ascendancy. It is not end step, it's upkeep. So that card's like actually Cabaret Charm, Naya. Instant, the charm deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature, or creatures you control get +1s in trample, or you get 2 tokens. Oh, that one's just like I don't have a nice way to say it. I'm sorry. Yeah, this effect is not good. Just like, why would Jeskai Charm is 2 of the 3 same colors in red and white, and this is like way better. Like, you put target creature on top of its owner's library, or deal 4 damage to an opponent, or creatures you control get +1s in lifelink, which is way better. Man, what a miss on Cabaretti. So what do we got? Celestial Regulate, 3 mana 2/3 Angel Advisor. When this thing enters the battlefield, you choose target creature you don't control and tap it. If you control a creature with a counter on it, the chosen creature is frozen instead of tapped. Okay, that seems pretty bad. Kind of cool. Like, angels, it's also a common, so I don't think that's relevant, but you know, it could be. It's like a better than average flyer. Ceremonial Ground. It's an equipment, 1 +2/+1 in trample, equip 3 or equip citizen 1. That'll see play in limited, but where else? The card's not actually. Civil Servant is another cat. It's green and white for a 2/3, so above curve. When it attacks, you can tap another citizen you control. If you do, this thing gets +1/+0 and life. Cormella Glamour. Oh, this card's cool. So by glamour, she doesn't actually mean glamour as in something like glamorous. It's glamour as in like a spell that she's casting. So she's 1 and then Grixis, so 4 total for a 2/4 with haste. You pay 1, tap her, add Grixis, and you spend this mana only to cast instant and or sorcery spells. I don't think. When she dies, you return up to 1 instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your so yeah, Cormella seems pretty sweet, not gonna lie. And she's legendary, so she can be your commander. I will never have an excuse to play her, but I like Corpse Appraiser. Alright, so you pay Grixis for a 3/3 Vampire Rogue. I don't think Vampire, I'm reading the effect now, I don't think Vampire is relevant, but Rogue might be, who knows. When this thing enters the battlefield, you exile up to 1 target creature card from a graveyard. If a card is put into exile this way, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of those cards into your hand and the rest into your What? Yo, this is so good! Are you? Yo! Okay. So you exile a creature from a graveyard, which is already relevant text. So if your opponent's got, like, I don't know, a Croxen or something in the graveyard, in the example of your opponent being, you say you're playing Pioneer, right? And you're, I don't know, playing some Grixis, and your opponent's got like a Croxa or a Cauldron, any of the cards that actually wanted, right? So like, this thing enters the battlefield, you exile the thing from their graveyard, and then you get to draw a card, and then you get to put cards in your graveyard to fuel the Croxa that you're probably playing because you're playing black and red. Like, this card seems really good. And like, a 3/3 doesn't even suck. Like, as we've already seen, Graveyard Trespasser is a 3/3 at base. Of course, you get more out of it. God, I think my only this thing is that since you're exiling something from a graveyard, it doesn't play nicely with the on-color Drown in a Lock. This card's a rogue, so if you wanted to play this thing in a deck with like Thieves Guild Enforcer, Soaring Thought Thief, stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? You can like play those cards, start milling your opponent, play this card, get the relevant card out of your graveyard, keep all the other stuff in. Now you get to play this thing, draw cards from basically playing this thing, plus whatever else you draw in the lock, Opter, all that stuff, right? And then you get to attack with this thing. If you have a Soaring Thought Feeble, then you're milling them more, giving you more fuel for future corpses. Yeah, I don't hate this at all. I think this card, I might try to build some of this, to be honest. Like, this thing seems Alright, that's my 2 cents. Let's move on to the next. I'm gonna obsess over this thing. Corpse Explosion. What do you do? 1 black/red for a sorcery. Exile a creature card from your graveyard, and you deal damage equal to that card's power to every creature amp. Meh. Seems okay. I mean, yes, you can put cards into your graveyard. I don't think that's enough. Pay Jund for a 4/2 with haste. She's a human. I don't think that's relevant in Jund colors, but here we are. And she's got Indestructible as long as it entered the battlefield this turn. So just like an above rate 4/2 haste. Darling of the Masses. Oh, that's a sweet picture. Like, we've got this elf lady riding this freaking huge panther, and the crowd is throwing roses at her, and yeah, this picture is sick. Like, they love her. She is the darling of the masses. So 4 mana, 2/4. Other citizens you control get +1/+0. And whenever this thing attacks, you get a... So the card's not great, but the picture is a Disciplined Duelist. Okay. Bant mana for a 2/1 double strike human. And when it enters a battlefield, you put a shield counter on it. Okay. I don't think it'll see play in anything, but it's cool. Endless Detour. Pay Bant for an instant. The owner of target spell, non-land permanent, or a card in a graveyard puts it on top or bottom block. I love this card. I am already embarrassed for the number of lists I will try to put this card. Will do my best to not play this card for as long as I possibly can, but I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to cast this card. It is not going to this is exactly the kind of card I absolutely costs 3. You get lots of options. It doesn't counter anything, so it dances around, like, say, Cavern of Souls. Supreme Verdict is uncounterable, so you can endless detour that to the top of their deck and it won't resolve. Yeah, this is the exact kind of card that will like debate me into playing it, even though I am fully aware it is not good. I just rest at myself for how often I try to play this. It's yeah, let's just move on. Oh god, I do so much because I keep trying to put that into decks. I can already see it now. So we got Evelyn the Covetous. So she's a total of 5. It's 2 in a black, and then Hybrid Demir and Hybrid Rakdos. So you can get away with playing, what, 2 black for this card. So if you want to play her in some mono black deck, there you go. Anyway, she's a 5 mana 2/5 with flash. Whenever she or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, you exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter. Once during each turn, you can play a card from exile with a collection counter on it if it was exiled by an ability you controlled, and you can spend mana as if it was any color to cast it. Oh, okay, cool. So it also says you can play the card. It doesn't say anything about casting the card. So if you find that's kind of cool. I don't think it's good, but it's cool. She's also legend. You have some legend Grixis vampire deck, I guess, then you could do that. But realistically, if you're playing vampires in EDH, you're probably... What is Team Edward's name? Edgar Markov, right? Yes, this guy. Yeah, so if you're playing EDH vampires, you're probably just like playing this guy. Evelyn is at least like a different take on that. So I don't know. Maybe, I mean, somebody will build it. I don't know if it'll be good, but somebody. What's next on our list? Exotic pets. All right, so we got 1 blue and white for an instant. You get 2 fishes that can't be blocked, and then for each kind of counter among creatures you control, you put a counter of that kind on either of those tokens. Okay, sure. I don't think it's good, but we got Felco Spara Pact. So 1 and a Bant for a 3/3 flying trample. This thing enters a battlefield with a shield counter on it. Okay. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. Okay. You can cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control in addition to paying their other costs. I really wanted to like this card, and I don't like the having to remove a counter to play your shit. I mean, it's a legend, so like I'm sure somebody will build a deck with just +1 counter. Say you can play like EDH Hardened, actual Hardened Scales, Ozolith, things like that. Put counters on you, remove a bunch of counters from modular creatures or creatures you're playing +1 counters, and then you can like just play a bunch of cards off. I don't know, not my jam. Fatal Grudge, black and a red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this thing, you sack a non. Every opponent chooses a permanent they control that shares a type with the sacrifice permanent and sacrifices it, and you draw a card. Oh, that's kind of cool. It doesn't do land, which I think is, but if you sack an enchantment, they got an, also it replaces itself by drawing a card too. So there's a lot of value to this, right? Like you can have Fatal Grudge, and then you can sacrifice just like Cauldron Familiars and shit because there's already a black-red. So like if your opponent has some fast creature, you can Fatal Grudge, sacrifice your Cauldron. They gotta sacrifice their cool creature. You get to draw a card, and then your thing is still in. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a card that actually sees some non-zero. Specifically, maybe like as a 2-of in a black-red sacrifice deck. I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't know if it'll be good, but it draws a card, which is always relevant. There's already a sacrifice deck, so I don't see it. Fleetfoot Dancer, 1 in the Naya, so 4 total for a 4/4 trample lifelink haste. Yeah, this is cool. This will see play. I don't know what it'll see play in, but it'll see play. I mean, you could just build some random aggro slash, this card will certainly be good in it, Werewolves and Thalia, whatever, until you, or it's just like a non-human creature in Winota colors. So, and it's got haste, which is relevant. So you can just play, I don't know, maybe like 2 of these things on top of the Asika's Chariots and themselves so that you have like bust 4 drop spot. It's got haste, so it's much easier to Winota, but like the lifelink is also super relevant in some matchups. So yeah, I don't know. I think this card actually has a little bit of potential. This will see play in something. What do we got? Forge Boss. This guy's sweet looking. 4 mana for a 3/4 human. When you sacrifice one or more other creatures, this thing deals 2 damage to each opponent. Glamorous out, a 6 mana 4/5. Yikes. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you scry 2. So you pay 2 mana, you exile this thing from your hand. Target land gains tap to add Grixis, until this card is cast from exile, and then you can cast it. Oh, this is good. So you get to turn any of your lands into a, and then you still just get to cast this thing later. I think this card's fine. Like, I assume there's gonna be a whole cycle of these. I hope one of them's like actually, so far so good. Like, this card seems sweet. There's Outlaw, so we've got Hostile Takeover, 5 mana enchant. Nope, sorcery, not an enchant. 5 mana Grixis sorcery. Up to 1 target creature has base power and toughness 1/1s. Up to 1 other target creature is a 4/4, and then Hostile Takeover deals 3 damage. I don't think it's good, but it's cute. Get to save one of your creatures, body one of their creatures in it. What are you? Incandescent Aria? Naya mana, so just green, white, red. For a sorcery, this thing deals 3 damage to each non-token. How many sweepers do we need? Next up is Jetmir, Nexus of Revels. So 1 in Naya, so a 5/4 legend. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you have 3 or more. Creatures you control also get +1/+0 and have trample. And creatures you control also get +1/+0 and have double strike because you control 9 or more. Oh, and that's cute because it's a 5/4, so 5 + 4 is 9. It's 3 colors, so multiple of 3. All right, we see what you're doing. Card's bad, but it's a legendary cat, so somebody will play it with some. The deck will be bad, but it will be played. Jetmir's Fixer, green and a red for a 2/2 cat. Pay a green and a red. This thing gets +1 until end. If mana from a treasure was spent to activate this ability, it gets a +1 counter instead. Sure, okay. Here we've got Ginny Faye, Jetmir's second. So she's green and either, okay, so she's 3 mana total. One of them is green, one of them is hybrid green-white, and one of them is hybrid green-red. So you can get away with paying green, green, green for this card. And if you would create 1 or more tokens, instead create that many 2/2 green cat tokens with haste, or that many 3/1 green dog. Okay, sure. I actually like this card. So 3 mana for a 3/3 is already a decent rate, right? But anytime you make tokens, and it doesn't say what kind it's for, so you can make like treasure tokens, those will become creatures. You can make citizen tokens, and those become better creatures. Yeah, I actually think this card's got a pretty decent amount of it too, because like this will still be instant. So you can play this in standard alongside cards like Ranger class decks. And instead of getting just like a generic 2/2 wolf, you can get a 2/2 cat that can attack the same turn. So this card's actually got, I think, some decent amount of it, especially since you can just cast green, green, green for her, so you can actually just like play Ginny Faye. Yeah, I don't know. I think this card will end up seeing play, if for nothing else more than just like a good on-curve. Lagrella so Bant mana for a 2/3, and she's a human. When Lagrella the Magpie enters the battlefield, you exile any number of target creatures controlled by different players until she leaves the battle. When an exiled card enters the battlefield under your control this way. So it's 1 creature per player, and of course that means you get to exile a bunch. Say you're playing 1-on-1, to put her into play, and she's a human, which is relevant. So you get to exile your thing, exile there, and if you exile their, I don't know, say like Merc, even when it comes back at power and toughness, but your thing relics text, and then you can vial it in, save something of yours, body something of theirs, your thing's gonna get bigger. Overall, I actually think I like this card. I don't know if it's good enough to see, but I can totally see why somebody would try to cast it. Yeah, I don't know, I think it's okay. I don't think it's good, I think it's okay. What do we got? Lord Xander the Collector, alright. Giant. So we've got 7 mana total. It's 4 and then Grixis for a 6/6. When this thing enters the Vampire Demon. Vampire is the most relevant. When this thing enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand rounded down. When it attacks, defending player mills half their library. And when it dies, target opponent sacrifices half the cool. I don't think it's good, but it's cool. All right, what do we got now? Maestro's Ascendancy. So once during each, Ascendancy. It's Grixis mana for an enchant. I did already say it, so whoops, there we go. Once during each of your turn, cast an instant or sorcery spell by sacrificing a creature in addition to costs. If a spell was cast this way, flashback. All your shit in your graveyard gets flashback except you gotta sacrifice it. Still, not that bad. I think this card's okay. Maestro's Charm. You pay Grixis mana. Oh yeah, this one's good. I saw this one. So you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library. You put one of those cards in your hand and the rest go into your graveyard, which is each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. And then choice 3 is this thing will deal 5 damage. I think this card's, the draw card mode is really good, especially since it puts the rest of the cards into your graveyard again. Black and red. and that enabled to do croaks of a bunch of cards. 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker, it's a pretty good rate. So if your opponent is trying to, like, say Narset, resolve their Narset, and then they decide that because you're playing, they don't want to make Narset more vulnerable end step, you Maestro Narset, and then your opponent's super sad. I'm a fan of this card. I like it. Realistically, I'll probably try to, except this one will actually, unlike the Bant one that I'm loose with, because that one's not. But Maestro's Charm, I think, is actually, all right, so what do we got here? Maestro's Diabolist. Okay. Oh, I know that word. So a Diabolist, it's a vampire who eats other vampires. And I only know that because of a game that, okay, I'm aging myself. So anybody who's, I don't know, under like 35, feel free to laugh at. If you're over 35 and your knees suck, then you'll remember this too. Old RPG called Vampire the Masquerade. It's from like 90. And the idea behind Vampire the Masquerade is that every, like Dungeons and Dragons, except you're in a vampire world. And in this vampire, there were different families that you could belong, different I don't want to necessarily call them magical traits, but I guess vampiric powers is more. And everybody had these vampiric powers that really went along family. Like one was focused more on blood magic, another one was focused on, you know, physical attributes, stuff like that. And diablerie, or being a diabolist, is one of the things that would, every time you ate, I guess, a higher class, higher generation is how they called it in the game, then you actually had the potential to rise up in power levels every time you ate another vampire. You could eventually, you know, rank yourself all the way up from like a 13th generation scrub, with all the way up till a 4th generation or a 3rd generation is like the highest you can get by doing that. But that's still, you get, so yeah, so that's my little aside on here from when I was like this old. But yeah, good times. And I'm gonna tell you guys that I never played the game and that I never chose to eat. But Maestro's Diabolist, so it's Grixis mana for a 1/4 Death Touch and Haste. Whenever this thing attacks, if you don't control a devil token, you get a tapped and attacking 1/1 red devil that when it dies you deal, which makes sense. I actually like see the little chilling in his nice little suit, like right by him. So yeah, all right, cool. Also, sweet art. We talked about the Diabolist. Masked Bandits. We got 6 mana for a 5/5 Vigilant Menace, and this is going to be the Jund version of that. Pay 2 mana, exile it, make one of your lands great, and then you can cast this card later on, except Vigilant Menace is what's on this one. I think this card's actually pretty, 5/5 Vigilant Menace is pretty sweet in combat. And then Raccoon Rogue is also just like a sick, like, I just like Rocket, you know, the homage is awesome. All right, Meeting of the Five. Wow, that's a lot of words. We got a sorcery. It costs 8 total, so 3 and then Woober. Exile the top 10 cards of your library. You can cast spells with exactly 3 colors from among them this turn. You add double Woober, and you spend this mana only to cast spells with exactly, that's, somebody somewhere will try to combo with this thing. What do we got here? Metropolis Inc. So 4 mana, 3/1 flying. Of course, it's an angel. Whenever you attack with one or more creatures with counters on them. Why do you guys get all the insane stuff in blue and white? I'm so mad. Attacking creatures that draw a card in spirits? What's wrong with y'all? I'm so pissed. All right, what do we got? Mr. Orfeo. Oh man. Oh, Avatar. Yes. The Boulder. Oh, now I gotta do a rewatch. Anyway, it's 1 and then Jund for a 2/4. Whenever you attack, double target creature's power. And oh, the flavor text is nice too. Once he was jumped by a dozen Maestros agents, you can still see their imprints in the pavement. So, my dude, the Bold. We got a Nimble Larcenist. What are you? You are a wait. Okay, so your Esper mana for a very well-dressed 2/1 bird. It's got flying. This guy's outfit is sick. I love it. Holy shit, there's even like feathers on the bottom of his jacket and everything. Yo, this dude. Oh, I need that outfit. Anyway, when this thing enters a battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You can choose an artifact, instant, or sorcery and exile. What? That card's so good. This is... What? Why don't I get nice things like this? Y'all, I might have to just change this miscellaneous flyers. I don't even. These cards are so good. Obnixilis the Adversary. Oh, I've seen you. Don't you like clone yourself or something? So there's a lot of text on this thing. So you pay 1 a black and a red, loyalty 3, and casualty X. The copy isn't legend and has starting loyalty X. So if you sacrifice like a 5/5, then you get to have 2 Obnixilises on the table at the same time, and the copy is gonna have 5, and you get to just have both. So that's how the casualty on this walker is gonna. +1 loyalty. Every opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card. If you control a demon or a devil, you gain 2. -2. is you get a 1/1 devil that dies and deals a damage to something. -7, target player draws 7 cards and loses 7 life. Oh, so you grizzle, you get to grizzle. Shit, that's cool. Obscura Ascendi. Okay. So fair warning, I've seen this card like a hundred. So it's gonna be an ascendancy, so it's an enchantment. It costs Esper to cast, and whenever you cast a spell, if its mana value is 1 plus the number of soul counters that are already on this thing, then you get a soul counter on the ascend, and you get a 2/2 spirit. If there are 5 or more soul counters on this thing, then spirits +3/+3. You gotta cast like a 1-drop and then a 2-drop, and once you have 5 counters this thing, all your spirits you get like a little bit of value out of this as long as you play your, but it's actually kind of easy to do, right? Like, just say you have your typical, like, all you gotta do is play like Opt or Consider, Narset, that's 3, and then you like Supreme Verdict, that's 4, and then that's 5. So this is actually real work, and you can do your shit. I don't know that this is a bunch of miscellaneous 2/2s, seems, and like the spirits you control get +3/+3. Don't get me wrong, I'd love that, but like at what cost? Like, I don't really want to cast 4 drops, and I definitely can't like take a turn off to cast this thing. So the problem I have with this card mostly is just like, where does it fit? It is very cool, and honestly the picture is pretty sweet where they're all having like this crystal ball seance and stuff, but overall I don't. Obscura Charm. This one, however, me and Obscura Charm, we might have to have a little chat. So this is going to be Esper for an instant, and you choose one. You return target multicolor permanent with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, or counter target instant or source, or destroy target creature or planeswalker. This card I am actively super here for. I love this thing. I'm gonna cast it. This is gonna be another one that gets me absolutely bodied, and I don't know that I care. It's right up my wheelhouse. It gives me lots of options. You can counter spells, you can removal spell, you can reanimate stuff, and it reanimates a lot of stuff that you actually want to reanimate. Like, it reanimates Spell Queller, which is pretty freaking important. You can reanimate like Watcher the Spheres if you're looking to just go off on, because it only does multi, and it's not like you can play it, but you can in Modern, because it only says multicolored permanent, it doesn't say creature. So if you want to play Esper control instead, Modern instead of Blue-White, then you have access to Light. You can play Obscura Charm, or you can just use them to counter target instant or sorcery, which means like living or planeswalkers too, so like opposing to fairies, if but also like creature. Those are all still CMC 0. So there's a lot of use for Obscura. This is going to be another one that I will try to play, and realistically I am going to lose some matches because I'm trying to play this card instead of just playing better cards, but I don't care. I want to play it, so I'm probably gonna play it. Obscura Intercept. Oh, are you the Spell Queller thing? I think I've seen this. It is. Okay, I've seen this. So it's 1 and then Esper, so 4 total for a 3/1 with Flash and Light, which honestly I already like. When this thing enters a battlefield, it connives, and then when it connives this way, you return up to 1 target spell. So if you're looking to play like some kind of cool Flash style, like this card's, it also dodges uncounterable things like Supreme Verdict. Since you're not countering, it returns a spell to its owner's hand. So if you want to get like an extra, having this thing intercept like a Supreme Verdict or a 5-mana Teferi or something, which is pretty sweet. Like, who doesn't like lifelink? So this is gonna be another card that I probably will try to play. We're gonna lose because of, and again, I just might. What's this? Agnes the Dragon's Lash. I have not seen. And Jun for a 3/3, but it's that hybrid nonsense again. So it's 1 and then red and then Rakdos and then, but you can get away with paying 1 and triple red for this card. So no, actually, I'm gonna take all of my bad things about this card because you can pay 1, and this card is instantly. So it's legendary. It's a Viashino Warrior, which luckily the creature types don't matter. But it's got haste, and whenever a creature you control with haste attacks, you create a tapped treasure token. This card's actually kind of bonkers because you can pay 1 red, which means you can just play good aggressive red deck, and making tapped treasure tokens, even if they're tapped, still pretty good. Yeah, this is going to be exactly the kind of card that the red decks will probably try to play 1 or 2 of somewhere, because it's just like above rate on ability, and it's a haste creature. I think this card will see a little play. I don't think it'll be great, but it'll see a little play and it'll be good enough. I don't hate it. I like this card. What do we got after Agnes? We've got Park Heights Pegasus. What are you? So green and a white, so Selesnya, for a 2-mana 2/1 flying trample. Whenever Park Heights Pegasus deals combat damage to a draw card, if you had 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Yeah, that's just not like it's tempting to make cards like this work, but this is a lot of try hard. I'm not. I think that card's just a little too difficult to make relevant. Yeah, that's really all there is to that. Ketsa, Augur of Agonies, 1 and then Esper for a 3/4. Cephalid Advisor. Cool, we have Cephalids back. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Not great on its own, but it's a really good builder, and it's legendary, so like somebody will definitely build around this and it'll be worth your time. So if you want to play this with any of those like draw 7 type effects, like I don't know whether Time Spiral is EDH legal, but you can play cards like Time Spiral, Time Twister, which I'm pretty sure is still Time Twister, Echo of Aeons, all of those kind of things, and every single one's into like a bunch. Yeah, that seems good. Also, oh, Psychosis Crawler. Yeah, whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a... Yeah. So you can like stack those type of effects too. So you can just like make your deck just do nothing but draw a shit ton of cards, or cycle through a shit ton of cards with things like Windfall effects, and then you can just like drain your opponents every two, something like that. Yeah, that seems sweet. Somebody will build that. Rafine, Scheming Seer. So you're Esper for a 1/4 with flying and ward. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking. So you draw X cards and then discard X cards. You put a +1 counter on that creature for each non-land card discarded this way. Pfft, okay. Yeah, I'm mad about it. Yeah, this card seems sick. Man, I was happy about this card with the conniving bit without considering the fact that you can connive more than once, and without considering the fact that you get +1 counters if you discard non-land cards. Like, this card's just freaking excellent. Holy crap. What are you? Rakish Revelers. Holy shit, I love this pick. Yo, this is like such heavy on the Hamilton vibes. Oh, whoops. Yeah, this is like heavy on the Hamilton vibes. I love this thing. Anyway, it's 2 and then Naya, so 5 total. For a 5/3, when it enters a battlefield, you get a 1, and then you exile this thing from your hand, give your land the ability. I think that's gonna be kind of card that just like won't see play anywhere, because like it sucks as a creature and nobody really wants to make Naya mana with their lands anyway. Yeah, I don't know. The picture is strong as shit. I love that picture, but I don't. Rigo, Streetwise Mentor. Enters a battlefield with a shield counter on it. Whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with 1 or more creatures with power 1 or less, draw a card. And so it costs 3 total, so it's a white and then either Celestia and Azorius, so you can get away with playing this card with just white. You can also pay white, blue, and whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with 1 or more creatures with power 1 or less, you draw a card. And it's a 2/2, so like Rigo can't, you don't get to trigger itself. It does actually have to have friends in order to, unless you somehow reduce the power on Rigo down. So like that's a thing that I guess needs considered. I don't know that I care. I think I might try to play 1 or 2 of these. This card seems really strong. Like anytime you attack with like a 1 power creature, so like Spectral Sailors 1 power, Mausoleum Wanderers 1 power, Supreme Phantoms 1 power, and then you get to draw a card every time you do this, but without actually having to like resolve a, say, Curious Obsession or something on it. You can just like play this thing. Don't know that I'm not gonna try this. I will probably try 1 to 2 of these at some point. Like, drawing a card is such a powerful yeah, this effect's stupid strong. Alright, what's after Rigo? We got Riveteer's Ascendancy. So it's a Jund Ascendancy, so it's just Jund mana enchantment. Whenever you sack a creature, you can return a target creature card with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and do it only once a turn. I don't know that this card is good enough to see play since it is once a turn, but I can see how this card could have been really abusable if you could do it more than. I understand the necessity, but unfortunately, I think the end result is that this card just kind of sucks. It's, I don't know, it seems like it's such an easy effect to abuse if you got to do it more than once a turn, so like, I can't even fault anybody for doing it. I don't know, a little bit sad about it, that's all. RIP Ascendancy. Alright, so after the Riveteer's Ascendancy, we've got Riveteer's Charm. You are Jund mana instant. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker they control with the highest mana value amongst those things, okay? Exile the top 3 cards of your library until your next end step you can play those cards. Okay, 3 is kind of a lot. Or exile target player's graveyard. I like all the modes on this. I think this card's great. I would actually not even be surprised if Modern Jund decided to play like 2 of these. I think this card's really good. So they sacrifice their best permanent, you effectively get to draw 3 cards, or exile a graveyard, which is relevant in Modern. I like all 3 modes on this card. This card's Rocco, Cabaretti Caterer. So X and then Naya for a 3/1. And when this thing enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you can search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, and then what? Yeah, this card's good. Wow, this card is insane. There's so much combo potential with this thing. This card does everything. And it's an elf too? I mean, yeah, sure, red and white are not exactly elvish colors, but like, it's not like this card can exactly be super hard to cast. Search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less. This does so much. Or even like, say you're just playing like Modern, right? You can literally just pay 3 mana for this, and you get a 3/1, and the creature card mana value X or less, so you can just go get a Dryad Arbor, like just out of your deck for free. You don't even have to pay additional for it. You can just call X0. This card seems really absurd, and that's not even talking about like any of the combo potential for this thing, right? Because like, say you get just Cavern of Souls on the table, you cast this thing for a bunch of mana, X is 4, and you have an uncounterable way to just go and get Felidar Guardian out of your deck. I don't know, Restoration, pay 5 and you get Kiki, because it doesn't say anything about non-legend. So in Naya colors, those are already your combo colors. So like, you can just, for example, pay 5 with this thing, and you never mind getting Rocco, but you can also just get like Devoted Druid or Vizier Remedies to power up Devoted Druid out of your deck. There's so much. Like, imagine, Jesus Christ, I hope I don't give anybody this, but like, imagine if you just like pay 7 mana because you have like Birds of Paradise and stuff on the table, and you just like cast Rocco, use Rocco to go get a freaking Yawgmoth out of your deck. Like, there's so much you can do with this card. Oh, I am not looking forward to fighting against Rocco decks. Like, this is gonna see play somewhere. It's gonna have some ridiculous combo attached to it, and I'm going to be very sad when it goes off, because it's gonna go off somewhere. Oh my fucking god, it can get premium. I'm already mad. I'll be so mad about this card for the next, I don't even know how long. This card's absurd. I don't even know who's gonna play it first, but somebody's gonna play it. It's gonna be amazing. You're gonna just get to cheat super hard with this card, and I'm already mad about it. So yeah, whichever one of y'all designed Rocco, fuck your mom. Next card. I'm gonna be pissed about that all day now. A Scheming Fence. What do you do? A 2 mana blue and white 2/3, which is already above rate. It's a human, and you can choose a non-land permanent. Activated abilities of the chosen permanent can't be active. This thing has all of the activated abilities of the chosen permanent except for loyalty abilities. You can spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate those. Okay. It does shut off planeswalkers. You don't get to activate it as if it was a walker. Okay, but you can still shut off like a Teferi 5 from your opponent. You can, there's a cool application. So if your opponent goes and gets like a Shadow Spear, you can Scheming Fence and steal the text of the Shadow Spear, and then you can equip your Scheming Fence to one of your creatures, and since it's an equipment that's equipped, it's no longer a creature. So the Shadow Spear player can't even use like a traditional removal spell like a Lightning Bolt or an Unholy on your Scheming Fence, since it's equipped and is no longer a creature. So that's kind of cool. If you're playing this in a humans list, then I'm sure you would appreciate shutting off your opponent's Aether Vial and keeping it for yourself. That seems kind of cool. What other's super sweet? I can't think of too many offhand, but I'm sure they're there. And I could just like share and see what's what, but whatever. There's a couple right off the top of the head that seem kind of cool, and I'm sure somebody will find more for this. I don't think it'll actually, because it's like no meddling mage, but a 2/3 for 2 means that it's at least worth looking at, right? Like, you get 1 pump from Athalia's Lieutenant, and it's instantly out of Lightning Bolt range, so like, that's not nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I think this card might be worth at least considering in a something. LOL, Colossus Hammer. Security Rocks is next. What do we got? Oh, that's cool. So we've got 2, a green and a red for a 5/4, and Security Rocks is really well dressed. Like, man, these guys have great outfits. Anyway, you can pay green and a red rather than paying the spell's mana cost, but you can only spend mana from treasures to cast. I don't don't think I care. I think this card's still pretty decent. Like, there's gonna be some kind of treasure-based deck that wants to like just power out a bunch of treasures anyway, right? Like, you already have cards like Prosperous Innkeeper, you have that cat that says tap to make a treasure token, but you take damage for each one you have. There's that really busted red card that whenever you smack somebody, you get to make treasure tokens. There is the other busted red card with haste that says you smack somebody, you get treasure tokens if you smack them with hasters. So there's a lot of good ways to make treasures in green and red, and I think this card's going to be relatively easy to power out. So I don't know, expect to see a lot of turn 3 5/4s that are played alongside other cards too. Yeah, that standard's gonna be pretty fast for a bit. What is after Security Rocks? Shattered Seraph. Oh, okay, sure. So this is the Esper version of the exile from hand to make your lands great. And as a creature, it's a 7 mana 4/4 flying, and when it enters the battlefield, it's actually not that bad. Like, I don't think this is going to be good enough to see Pauper play because, like, I just don't think this card's good enough. But again, the effect is cool. What do we got here? Snooping Newsy. These names are hilarious. So we've got black and a blue for a 2/2 human rogue. When it enters the battlefield, you mill 2 cards. As long as there are 5 or more cards amongst values and blah, blah, 5 or more mana values. This thing's +1 and life. Again, I don't think it's great, but it's cool. Soul of Emancipation. What are you? When it enters a battlefield, destroy up to 3 other target non-land permanents. For each of those permanent, it's a Terrastodon. Except instead of, oh, they have to be non-land though, because Terrastodon can. And this is an 8 mana 9/9 that makes 3 3s, but the 3 3s don't fly, and you can destroy lands with this. This costs 7 mana for a 5/7, which is nowhere near 9/9, and the 3 3s fly, and this can't do lands, and it's 3 colors. So this is gonna be, honestly, unless you're destroying your own permanents and making angels, I think this is just like a strictly worse Terrastodon in most other respects. You can also just like play both in the same deck if you're looking for that kind of effect in your commander deck. So if you're already inclined to play Bant, I guess you can just play Soul of Emancipation and Terrastodon. That'll probably be fine if that's the kind of effect that you're looking for, because both of those things are pretty effective at doing stuff like that. So what do we got next? Spara's Adjudicators. Okay, so this is going to be the Bant version of exile from hand and make your lane. But it's only 5 mana to cast. That's not 7. So it's a 5 mana 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls can't attack or block until your next turn. And you get to exile from your hand to make Bant mana out of one of your lands. I think this is kind of by a mile the best one of these effects, because like the card itself is actually pretty playable. Again, I don't think any of these are good, but I think that's the best one I've seen so far. We got Stimulus Package, a 2 green and a red for an enchantment. When it enters a battlefield, you get 2 treasure tokens, and you sacrifice a treasure to make a 1/1 token. That's kind of mid. Yeah, I think that's actually just kind of bad. What do we got? Syndicate Infiltrator, so 2 a blue and a black for a 3/3 vampire with flying. Oh, I guess it's also a wizard. Oh, this guy's actually pretty sweet looking. Man, the artwork for this set's so good. So as long as you got 5 or more mana values in your graveyard, this thing's a 5/5 instead of a 3. Oops, I skipped a card. Actually, I skipped a bunch of cards. Tainted Indulgence. What are you? Draw 2 cards and then drop 1 unless there are 5 or more mana values. And just like a lower costed, I guess thirst for knowledge type of effect. So we got Tolu's Clever Conductor. Oh, this is the blue one. So we've got 3 mana 3/1, and the mana is going to be a blue and then Azorius or Demir, so you can get away with casting blue for it. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. When you discard 1 or more cards, exile them from your graveyard. When this thing dies, you put the exiled cards into your hand. Yeah, that's kind of cool. All right. Actually, pause. It just said put the cards exiled with it. So this actually combos really silly, right? So if you get to play something like a Windfall effect, then you get to discard your hand, draw a shit ton of cards, and then later on when Tolu's dies, you just get all of those cards back on top of whatever the new ones you drew were. Yeah, no. This card's actually like busted. Because yeah, this is actually even better, because now you can do this card with like, oh yeah, this seems really strong. So you get to like Lion's Eye Diamond, exile all of the things. If she dies, you get all of the things back, but the Lion's Eye Diamond can cast something equally busted, like say an Echo of Aeons from the graveyard. Of course the Echo has to, whatever, the potential's still there. Somebody will try this, and honestly, she'll probably be really good. Like, Conniving is good, a 3/1's not bad for 3. She gets to draw cards when she comes in and get you cards back when she leaves. Like, I don't really know that there's anything to not like. Yeah, seems strong. I'm with it. What do we got next? Unleash the Inferno. 1 and then Jund. Unleash the Inferno deals 7 damage to a creature or when it does excess damage, you destroy target artifact or enchantment they control with mana value equal to or less than the excess damage. They cast Narset, they tick Narset. Narset's got I Unleash the Inferno at Narset. Narset takes the Unleash the Inferno does the 4, I guess, trample damage, and now I can disenchant something with X is 4 or less. That is a lot of text for that effect, and 4 is probably a lot of mana, but it's pretty cool. Like, I'm sure this will see a lot of play in EDH, right, where you can like kill their commander and one of their mana rocks with the same removal spell. That'll probably be really relevant there. Esper mana for an instant, can't be countered, destroy target non-land permanent. I love it. That's it. I love it. It's great. Fucking hell, am I about to be an Esper tempo pilot for a bit? That's whatever. I do what I want. What are you? Zeatora the Incinerate. 3 and then Jund, so 6 total for a 6/6 flyer. Legendary Demon Dragon. At the beginning of your end step, you can sack another creature. When you do, this thing deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure. A very on-theme card, seems fine. I find no issue with it. It's just honestly just like an average big dumb dragon. That's really all I got. It's not even exceptionally good or anything. And last but not least, from our multicolor section, we've got Zeatora's Envoy. So 1 and then Jund, so 4 mana for a 5/4 trample. Whenever this thing deals combat damage to a player, look at the top card of your library. You can play a land from the top of your library or cast a spell with mana value less than or equal to the damage dealt from the top of your library without paying cost. If you don't, put the card into your, and you can blitz it for this card's, wow, this is so much better than the legendary. What? Zeatora, your Envoy is so much better than you are. Oh my god. So it tramples, it's a 5/4 for 4, which is already good. And when you smack somebody with this thing, you can just like draw a card or cast it if it costs less than the damage you just dealt. And then it blitzes? Holy shit, this card is good. Yeah, that's all I got. This card's great. Like, I fully expect this card to see some non-zero amount of play. This is the kind of card that would probably make, if the mana was, for example, Pioneer black-red players, like, play Jund instead, because this is a threat that draws card, kills somebody quickly because it's got haste, and oh my god, things draw cards when they die from blitz. Now, say best case scenario, like you're in the middle of just trying to like get rid of your opponent and you're doing hasty things, but you are also just playing your mid-range deck. So you blitz Zeatora's Envoy, you attack, and good lord, this is insane. You get to like deal combat damage to them. You look at the top card of the deck, you can cast the thing for free. It dies at end of turn because of Blitz's effect, and then you draw another card because Blitz's effect. Nothing about this card that shit insane. This card's really, and it is so much better than the legendary it's named. I'm like almost mad at how good that card is compared to its counterpart. But yeah, a lot of these showcase type cards are really sweet too. I'm gonna have to get some of these for, I don't know what I'm gonna play most of them in, but I don't know, I want them. But that's gonna be it for our legendaries. I'm sorry, for our multicolor section. Now we just got artifacts and lands, so almost at the finish line, yeah? Right, so next up we got our artifacts, and all of the ones that actually have colors we will have already seen. So let's scroll down a little bit to the, here we go. So now we've got Arc Spitter. So 1 mana, equip 1. Target creature has just one, not 1 and tap or anything. So it's repeatable. Deal 1 damage to target creature that's blocking. Sure. So you can machine gun down anything that blocks your creatures. Brass Knuckles. 4 mana, equip 1. When you cast a spell, copy it. Okay. Equipped creature has double strike as long as there are 2 more equipment are attached to it. Oh, sure. That's cute. I like that. So if you want just double strike, you have Brass Knuckles. It comes in with the other half of them. And then you can equip both Brass Knuckles to your friend to give it double strike. Or if you have 2 creatures, then you can put 1 half of Brass creature with another equipment, and then the second half of Brass Knuckles on a second creature with its own other equipment. And then both of them will have double. That's pretty sweet. All right, that's flavorful. I like it. Cement Shoes. I feel like I'm gonna like this one a lot less. 1 cost to equip. Equipped creature gets +3/+3, and at the beginning of your end step, tap this creature and it doesn't untap. That's on theme. It's pretty hilarious. Not gonna. Chrome Cat. It's a 3 mana 3/2 cat, of course. And when it enters a battlefield, you scry 1. Sure, much worse than like Filigree from Getaway Car. Oh, it's actually kind of cool. Like the cartoony style almost reminds me of Oh god, was it the Monstars car in Space Jam? Do I have the right car in mind? Is this the vehicle I'm trying to think of? No, what's the mayor's name from? What is the mayor's name? Swackhammer. Mr. Swackhammer's car. I could have sworn there was a scene with a car that we saw in Space Jam. This is gonna bother me so much. Oh, I swear I've got the right car. Whatever, I'm over it. So I think I think the car I'm thinking of looks like this getaway car. And if I find it, I don't know, come back to it, I guess. But it's a 3-mana vehicle, crew 1 for a 4/3 with haste. When it attacks or blocks, return up to 1 target creature that crewed it this turn to its owner's hand. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. I mean, it's a getaway car, so it's thematic. Nonetheless, it's still pretty sweet. I like it. Notes Rastodon. You are not being spoiled today. Gilded Pinions. Isn't this a thing we've seen before? Oh, that must be Winged. 2 mana equipment. Equip cost is 2. Equipped creature has flying, and this thing makes a treasure token. More treasure tokens, of course. Bladed Pins, and it had first something pinions. Halo Scarab. A 2 mana 2/1 artifact creature insect. You pay 2, you exile this thing from your graveyard, and you get a treasure. More treasure tokens. Okay. Oh, or Luxior, not Luxor. Pay 1 mana, equip Planeswalker 1, or just equip. Okay. Equipped creature gets +1 for every counter on it. Equipped permanent isn't a Planeswalker and is a creature. And how does damage? It isn't a Planeswalker. So if I equip a Jace, it can be Doomblade because it's a creature. You can still activate these too though. So I pay 1 for Gyata's Gift. I equip for 1 more mana to my Jace. Say I Fate Seal something. So now Jace is going to be 5/5 creature. It's got 5 loyalty counters and I can attack with if my opponent blocks with, then their 4/4 is going to die and my Jace is not going to loyalty counter though it was dealt. I am pretty sure I am understanding. I think that's how that works. Okay. So the very first comment here looks like I am exactly right, where build your own Gideon, lol. Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't even think about Gideons. Yeah, because a bunch of Gideons and I think a Sarkhan too. Yeah, the Master List makes Planeswalkers into creatures. So like if your Gideon is a 4/4 and it's got 5 loyalty on it, you're just gonna have a 9/9. You're not gonna, okay, that's pretty sweet. That's a lot of work. I'm not reading, but all right, sweet. But looks like I was right about exactly how that's gonna work, right? So let's go back to that Jace example. If my Jace is a 5/5 because I equip and then I Fate Seal, I attack. My opponent blocks with a 4/4. I'm going to still have a 5/5 Jace with 4 damage. I am not going to have a 1. Okay, so that was a lot to consider, but overall kind of a cool card. Ominous Parcel, what do you do? So you 1 mana artifact with like demon horns or something. That is a fairly ominous parcel. True. You pay 2, you sack this thing, you search for a basic land, you put it into your hand and shuffle, or you pay 5, sack this thing, it deals 4 damage to a creature. Paragon of Mondr, what do you do? 4 mana 2/2 flying. It's an Angel Warrior. Again, Angel's pretty relevant right now. Pay 3, this thing gets +1s until end of turn. If exactly 3 colors of mana were spent to activate this ability, it gets a +1 counter instead. Sure, that's cute. Quick Draw Dagger. Wow, this guy looks sinister as shit. Pay 3 mana, flash. Equip cost is 1. When it enters the battlefield, you can attach it to target creature you control. That creature gets first strike turn, but creature also has +1/+1. Scuttling Butler, a construct, a 3 mana 4/1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have 2 or more multicolor permanents, this thing gets double strike. That's kind of cool. Suspicious Bookcase. Oh, that's cute. It gets, okay. So a 2 mana 0/4 defending wall. Pay 3, tap this. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. That makes sense. It's very thematic. I like it. And looks like our last artifact here is going to be Unlicensed Hearse. Pay 2 mana, exile up to 2 cards from a single graveyard. And then its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards exiled with it, and you crew 2. Okay. Actually, I really like this card. Yeah, this card might actually end up being the truth for a lot of our creature deck. Like any of us who play a bunch of creature decks, but also want to. And this is going to go for people like myself, any like merfolk pilots, anybody who's playing just like a bunch of strategies where unironically have just like a bunch of 2-power creatures anyway. And you're already battle things from graveyards, and having access to just like a big ass threat is pretty good too. Like if you're playing a card like this in say Legacy, where I do play, you can exile cards from a graveyard, and that helps with things like whatever Dredge or Reanimator decks you fight against, any Uro decks since they can't escape Uro. All of that time, your unlicensed hearse is also lining up to just be, so every time you're exiling cards with the graveyard, and you can exile your own stuff too, you're just like adding to the power and toughness of this card, so it can just like get bigger and bigger until, oh shit, you have a 2-drop and now this thing. I think this card's actually got a pretty decent amount of potential, and yeah, I'm probably gonna try it. I think that card's... Oh, and that's our last artifact too. Is there a cool looking version of this? If there is, there's a full art. Or a full art, borderless, whatever. That's borderless, that's extended. Yeah, all right, I like it. And since we're almost done anyway, let's just go right in. Botanical Plaza. Whoa, these are commons. Oh, hi. Enters the battlefield tapped, you add green or white, you pay 4, you sack this land, and you draw a card? Those are pretty good. And I'm just quick reading, and it looks like there's 3 cycles of land, so this is gonna be really. So there's one of these for each of green, white, green, red. So there's one of those 2-color 4 mana to draw a card comes into play tapped lands in the colors that we just talked. Broker's Hideout. What are you? When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it. If you do, search your library for a basic forest, plains, or island, comes in tapped, and then shuffle and you gain a life. Oh, so it's just like a panorama land, except it works immediately and you get a life when it happens. I like these. So it's like kind of like an Evolving Wilds, except you can't like hold it until a future turn for brainstorm purposes. You get a life, and if you're playing a 3-colored, nah, that doesn't change from Evolving Wilds. I don't know why I like this card as much as I do, because it's basically just like the panoramas, right? Except it doesn't actually like let you tap for mana the same turn if you actually need to, but it also doesn't cost additional. I think I like these a lot more than I should. Yeah, I don't know, I still like it. These are lands that I think I would actually choose to play like in Pauper, because you can still play these in like your blue-red decks, right? Like it doesn't say anything about not being able to get snow covered, so that's just the same as Evolving Wild. You can brainstorm, draw your 3, put your 2 cards that you don't want on top, play this Broker's Hideout, sack it, go get your land, shuffle your bad cards away, and then you get a life. And most of that is the same as Evolving Wilds or Ash Barrens, or so I don't really know why I like these cards so much. And there is one of those for each of the 5-color, or each of the 3-color combinations. So there's 5 of these lands total. Okay, and then these I have already seen. So this is not really like a cheatering, since like these were the first things spoiled, I think. But they're doing triomes, and they're finishing the triome cycle. So here we have a Naya colored triome, we have a Esper triome, Bant triome, Grixis triome, Jund triome, and they all have different names, so it's gonna be hard to miss. But they all, whoa, these basics I haven't seen yet. I will definitely be coming back to these here they are. But each of these also, oh, the commons have these versions too, cool. But yeah, I was gonna say, the triomes that we've seen have these super sweet, I don't know, like New Capenna showcasey versions of them that kind of look like something from a jazz album cover, and I'm a big fan of them. But I didn't know that they would be giving the common lands this treatment too. That's really sick. So if you're playing like, what's a 2-color combination that sees play? Here we go. Waterfront District. So if you're playing like blue-black fairies or whatever, then you can have access to these waterfront districts that are honestly worse because they're not swamps or islands, but they're cool because you get this cool looking version, and if you don't really need the extra, or where's the green-white Bogos players? But either way, they exist. That means that there's room for deck exploration with them, and somebody somewhere will probably try to play them. But I also really like these super cool looking triomes, because like we also have these versions on top of the showcasey ones like this. Each of the triomes also has these like full art ones that are really insane. But also, holy shit, these full art basics are sick. I especially like this map. This actually looks like a building I used to work in like 15 years ago. That's so yeah, like this is this is an actual building I used to work in, and that's what it looks like at where you see like this, you got like the lights up on top and stuff, and it looks like there should be gargoyles and stuff, but on the work building there like actually is like a sentinel / gargoyle looking dealie up top, and they've got like the separated lights and stuff, and that just is what it looks like all the time. So that's real. We got like this forest here with a sweet angel on top of it, this swamp that looks like an old, honestly it looks like an abandoned shopping mall. This just looks like a mall that got displaced by Amazon at some point. This plains looks like just the hub to somebody's like nightlife or something. You know, it's like, hey man, go downtown, drink, have fun with all your friends. You know, it's like that kind of scene. So I like these a lot. These are really sweet. And yeah, that's gonna be our Streets of New Capenna review though. Like, we've gone over all of the cards, we've seen all of the cool things, and we've had a lot of thoughts about it. I don't know, let me know exactly what you think cards in this set. Triome's really cool. Do you just wish they had abandoned Triomes and said fuck them and cycle after all? Do you think my opinions of some of the cards are misplaced? Am I overvaluing a lot of bad cards? Hint, yes, I am. Do you think, is there anything that I should be trying maybe in spirits? Like a card like, say, Slip Out the Bat. Let me know what you're going to be building with a lot of. Any of you Commander players out there too, because I don't have much familiarity with the format. What cards am I missing that are maybe better and honestly have absolutely? That's going to be my, I guess, closing thoughts on today. I am overall not super hype about this set, but there's a lot of cool things that I think, and there's a few things that people will definitely, whether they'll be good, but you know, that's kind of how it is. So as always, if you like what you're watching, make sure to click like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you've done so. We're super close, and I will see y'all on the next one.